Chapter 373. White clouds drifted leisurely. The light blue sky and the azure blue sea formed a beautiful contrast. On the edge of the cliff, the breeze gently blew Yen Tan's face. He sat on a stone pier, listening to the sound of seabirds while eating sashimi. The sashimi seemed to have just been cut, fresh and delicious. A large bowl was filled and placed on a small round stone table. Next to the sashimi there was a small bowl. The small bowl was filled with fine salt, white as snow. Yen Tan's mind moved, and a piece of sashimi floated up and floated into the salt bowl, dipped in both sides full of fine salt, and then floated to Yen Tan's mouth. Yen Tan opened his mouth and swallowed the sashimi. After chewing, his Adam's apple rolled, and he swallowed it. Ah! He let out a sound of enjoyment. Whether it was his voice or his half-squinted eyes, they all revealed a strong sense of happiness. At this moment, a space door opened, and a seagull flew out and landed on Yen Tan's shoulder. It was holding a military report in its mouth. Yen Tan took the military report, and the seagull actually spoke. "Old man, this is what you wanted. You made me fly so far, I'm exhausted." As the Navy Fleet Admiral, Yen Tan was already over 100 years old, with white hair and deep wrinkles. This is the meat of the temporal fish. Oh my God, how did you catch it?" The seagull glanced at the sashimi on the stone table, and suddenly recognized it, and exclaimed in a low voice, "Of course I caught it. You also know that this is a famous fishing holy land, hee." Yen Tan laughed and kicked the fishing rod at his feet. There were 2 sets of fishing rods. The tail end was inserted in the ground, and the tip was raised high. The 2 sets of fishing rods were made of ordinary materials, which should be made by Yen Tan after cutting tree trunk. It was not worth mentioning. However, the tip of the rod in front of Yen Tan was equipped with a fishing line. The fishing line was very slender and long, and it went all the way to the depths of the sea. When the seagull saw the fishing line, it looked at it for a moment, and a look of shock appeared on its face. It found that the fishing line was not a physical object, but condensed by Yen Tan's chi. Because the fighting aura was condensed too much and too dense, it gave people the illusion that it was real. What was most shocking was that not only was this thread of do chi extremely condensed, it was also extremely stable. Its aura was restrained to the extreme, just like an ordinary object. The fishing line was very long. It must be known that the place where Yen Tan was sitting was the edge of the cliff. The fishing line extended from the top of the cliff to the bottom of the sea. It was at least 200 meters long. "Old man, you really are amazing." The more Seagull watched, the more shocked he became. "Did you use this fighting spirit fishing line to catch the temporal fish?" As expected of a legendary fighter. "No, just this move of yours alone is something that ordinary legendary fighters would not be able to do." "Ha ha ha." Salt Tan laughed. "How can you say that I am a Marine Fleet Admiral?" Seagull chuckled and said mockingly, "You also know your position?" He spent his days sightseeing, and leaving a bunch of work to Wei Sheng. "Hey, this is a mistake. Blue Charm God is not dead, and the Justice Pirates are still running away. That kid Wei Sheng must be in deep trouble now." The seagull was impudent and even seemed to be taking pleasure in his misfortune. It flapped its wings and jumped from Yen Tan's shoulder, landed on the stone table, and began to peck at the sashimi. "Delicious, my God, it's delicious." Seagull praised the taste of the sashimi. "Dip it in my salt and it will be even more delicious." Yen Tan smiled. Seagull froze for a moment, hesitantly picked up a piece of sashimi, dipped it in a little bit of salt and swallowed it. Ugh, the next moment it retched, and its bird face was completely distorted. "So salty. I'm about to die. Water, water, I want water." Letting Seagull flutter on the side, Yen Tan leisurely began to read the military report in his hand. Bitong did not accept the military order and directly rushed to the Pillar of Heaven Ci. "Oh, he did it on purpose. Wei Sheng is taking the blame for me. Bitong is just trying to embarrass me." Bitong and Yen Tan were both legendary fighters. They did not even put the Marine Fleet Admiral in their eyes, let alone Wei Sheng. Yen Tan seemed to be accustomed to this. He was calm and collected, and was not annoyed at all. He continued to read. The following part was an analysis and the latest intelligence on the Justice Pirate. Analysis of the spy agency. The Justice Pirates are a human pirate group on the surface, but in fact, they should be a chess piece supported by the Blue Charm God religion. The purpose is mainly to hide their identity and infiltrate the human forces. According to current understanding, they have penetrated deep into the Empire's spy agency and have a close alliance with the third leader of the Firebeard Pirate. They have also received the appreciation and funding of Haofu, one of the bishops of the Church of Life. As for why their names were not on the stone tablet in the pirate city, the following analysis results were also given. It should be the Blue Charm God's disguise, deceit, and clergy. The Blue Charm God was able to deceive the Xingming Emperor and other gods of the Empire to save his own life. It was naturally easier to deceive the pirate throne. Of course, this military report also had the latest escape route of the Justice Pirates, as well as the details of the battle where they killed Major General Qiao, Yao Gui, Yao Ming, and Yao Maru. It's really delicious. Seagull spread out on the stone table, one wing supporting his body, and the other wing covering his swollen belly. Hey, old man, aren't you going to help that kid Wei Sheng? He's being laughed at by many people now. I have a hunch that it won't be easy to catch the Justice Pirate. I heard from others that after he was played by Bitong, he smashed the magic communication device on the spot. After his subordinates took the new magic device, he went crazy looking for you everywhere. Seagull said as he stroked his swollen belly with his wings. Well, I see. Thinking of the furious Wei Sheng, Yen Tan could not help but have a headache. Let me think. At this moment, his eyes lit up, and he suddenly kicked the fishing rod at his feet. The fishing rod suddenly shook, and the fishing line suddenly rose, with a fat sea fish hanging at the end. Time fish! Seagull exclaimed. The time fish was in midair, exuding a strong holy aura, and the scales on its body began to shine. Seagull's face fell. It's over, it's going to escape. It can't escape. Yen Tan chuckled. The next moment, the time fish suddenly became motionless, like a sculpture. Then, it was completely dismembered, its scales turned into a pile, its bones turned into a pile, its internal organs turned into a pile, and its flesh was completely peeled out. The space necklace on Yen Tan's chest lit up, and the rest of the fish disappeared in midair. Only the flesh fell into an empty bowl. The moment it fell into the bowl, the flesh was completely cut, turning into thin sashimi. Seagull was stunned, and for a long time, he could not speak. Yen Tan's method of using douqi was simply amazing. In Seagull's view, other than the fishing line, he did not notice that Yen Tan used douqi in other aspects. The whole process was as if the time fish had stripped itself, turning its flesh into sashimi. Yen Tan's spirit moved, and the freshest sashimi floated up, dipped in salt, and put it into Yen Tan's mouth again. Ah, it's so comfortable! Yen Tan exclaimed in admiration. Seagull was startled, thinking of the abnormal salty taste from before, and could not help but tremble slightly. Then, he quickly propped himself up and rushed to eat the sashimi. But after eating 2 or 3 slices, he could not eat any more. Saint-level magical beast meat was full of magic power. Seagull tried his best to digest it, but reached his limit, and could only look at the delicious food in front of him, unable to move. Seagull wanted to cry, but no tears came out as he watched Yen Tan eat more than 10 slices, and suddenly remembered. Where were we? Right, that kid Wei Sheng. You have to help him, old man. Of course, of course. Yen Tan wiped his mouth. Let's investigate first, in my opinion. The Justice Pirates are quite mysterious. There is still a lot of information we don't know. For example, Life Church's Bishop Haofu, he should know more. Also, the Justice Pirates planted alchemy bombs in Blunt Blade City. They entered the city late at night using the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce's channel. This Chamber of Commerce also needs to be investigated more deeply. I will give the order, you can go back without worry. Seagull was stunned and immediately shouted, "That's it? I say, old man, can't you send a team to directly attack the Justice Pirates? Wei Xing is now representing you. Bitong humiliating Wei Xing is actually making you lose face. Aren't you going to do something to Bitong?" Yen Tan smiled. "What face do I have? I am just a lucky person who was not a fleet admiral by chance. As for Bitong, he may not be able to achieve his wish." With that, he waved his hand lightly. Without any chi, Seagull was forcefully blown away. The portal behind him directly opened, and after swallowing Seagull, it disappeared. Yen Tan continued to sit on the stone block, enjoying the scenery and eating sashimi. Soon, footsteps came from behind Yen Tan. Yen Tan did not turn around. "Yo, old friend, you are here." The person who came sat on another stone block. "Humph, you are very leisurely and elegant." With that said, he picked up a few pieces of sashimi with his thick fingers. Yen Tan pushed the bowl of refined salt. "It tastes better dipped in salt." The person shook his head. "Your taste has never changed. But I don't have as heavy a taste as you." With that said, the person's eyes narrowed slightly. He saw the military report on the stone table. Yen Tan casually threw the report on the table. The content was completely open and not closed. Yen Tan looked at the beautiful scenery of the sea and smiled. "Let's fish together. I have already prepared the fishing rod for you. Let's compete?" The person looked at the crude fishing rod in front of him. There was no fishing line at the front end of the fishing rod. He laughed. "You have so many tricks. Which time didn't you lose? Haven't you lost enough?" Yen Tan ate a mouthful of sashimi, of course, dipped in salt, full of confidence and full of meaning. "Old friend, why do I feel like I will win this time?" Chapter 374. Man Zhuang walked to the bottom of the ship. This place had been transformed into a temporary prison cell, and many people were locked up. Seeing Man Zhuang appear, these people immediately became restless and ran to the side of the cage. Man Zhuang was dragging a large sack made of coarse hemp. At this moment, he reached into the sack and took out pieces of dried meat. He threw these pieces of meat. The pieces of meat were thrown in through the gaps in the bars of the cage, and then they were all snatched up by the captives in an instant. "Give me some, please give me some meat. I have been hungry for a week. If I don't eat, I will starve to death." "Then starve to death." Man Zhuang's expression was indifferent. "If you can't even get food, you are not worthy to be my barbarian slave." The barbarians thrived on the Frost continent and worshipped bravery and perseverance. Under the harsh living environment, they believed in the creed that the strong survived and the weak died. Man Zhuang walked to the deepest part and threw a few pieces of dried meat into the cage. In this cage there were only 2 prisoners. The amount of dried meat that Man Zhuang threw in was a lot, and for the 2 of them, it was more than enough to fill their stomach. "It's time to eat again?" A gray figure walked out from the shadows. In the Battle of the Pillar of Heaven CI, he did not have time to board the deep-sea monster fish and was captured by the barbarians. Although he was trapped in a cage, he had experienced many hardships and was the captain of the ship for many years. As a man who fought against the sea for many years, he was naturally broad-minded. The Ratman swordsman picked up the dried meat and gave half to the other prisoner. "Third master, eat the meat." The prisoner was none other than the bard Feng Yao. He slowly opened his eyes and his gaze was silent. After sitting up and eating the dried meat, he actually cried. "Woo, my goddess, I am getting farther and farther away from her." Man Zhuang snorted coldly, and was very disdainful of the crying Feng Yao. Feng Yao did not care about Man Zhuang's attitude at all. He asked, "Why are you still not letting us go?" Are you not afraid that my boss will come and settle the score with you? So many days have passed, and so many people have escaped. The information about this place must have reached my boss. You better let us go now, or else when my boss comes it will not be so easy. Fire Beard. Humph, I've long heard of his fame. Man Zhuang sneered and said disdainfully, but with such a cowardly subordinate like you, I'm afraid he's nothing much. Hey, Fire Beard is my boss. I'm not his subordinate, I'm his brother. Feng Yao shook his head, his expression turning serious. That's right. Covered in Dust also chimed in, as long as the first master hears the news, he will definitely come. Man Zhuang laughed. We'll wait for him here. With that, the burly Saint Realm barbarian swaggered off. The structure of the barbarian ships was relatively simple. The ship that Man Zhuang was on only had 3 decks. When he walked to the open deck, the smile on his face had already disappeared, replaced by a dignified and anxious expression. He looked up at the sky. There was a divine throne floating in the air. The divine throne was shaped like a shell. It was the blue charm divine throne. However, it was different from before. The high priest who originally occupied the throne had been completely disintegrated. Now, the one sitting on the throne was a barbarian warrior wearing a crow mask. His beard was gray, and his long black hair was tied up into a high ponytail. His eyes were closed as he sat cross-legged on the blue charm divine throne. The life force of a legend rank fluctuated between strong and weak. On his left hand there was a distinctive claw glove, which was also a legend rank equipment. It was the legend of the barbarians, the Ice Ripper, Claw Crow. In the previous battle, the High Priest and the god's avatar that controlled the divine throne had entangled Claw Crow. When Claw Crow became the final victor, the Justice Pirates had already run away. Seeing that the blue charm divine throne was about to fly away, Claw Crow immediately sat on it and suppressed it. After Man Zhuang was healed, he cooperated with Claw Crow and captured all the enemies that did not escape in time. Claw Crow maintained the subspace while participating in the mystery of the blue charm divine throne. This was a secret related to the gods. As a legend rank, Claw Crow's heart was filled with the desire to explore a higher level of power. Of course, he had another way of saying, the blue charm god has already run far away. We have no way of tracking him, but he left the blue charm divine throne. As long as I understand some of its mysteries, I might be able to find the location of the blue charm god and track him down. Man Zhuang had no choice but to agree with him. The subspace had already closed under Claw Crow's control. Without Claw Crow's permission, Man Zhuang could not return to the main world even if he wanted to. Master Claw Crow, it's about time. We've already stayed here for many days. The information about this place must have been spread widely in the outside world. We should retreat first. Man Zhuang looked up at Claw Crow on the divine throne and shouted. Claw Crow opened his eyes slightly. He stroked the shell-shaped divine throne and praised from the bottom of his heart, as expected of a divine throne. In just these few days I've learned a lot. There's a reason why the gods are so high above. He looked down at Man Zhuang and said calmly, It's okay. Although the sacred empire is very powerful, all the gods need to stay in their own places. They've been confronting the other gods in various fields. They won't be able to move in a short time. I've absorbed the gods' mysteries and improved this combat technique. The subspace is more hidden and sturdy than before. So, even a legend-rank sorcerer can't break in here in a short time. We have plenty of time to react. In a few more days, I'll be able to suppress this divine throne and bring it back to the Frost Road. Claw Crow was very confident, but in the next moment, a figure broke through the space wall and entered the subspace. This person was short and fat. He had thin eyebrows and small eyes. The most eye-catching thing was that his nostrils were extremely big. He was wearing an admiral's outfit. His legend rank aura spread out. Admiral Bai Tong. Claw Crow's expression changed. He revealed the person's identity in a deep voice. Bai Tong's eyes quickly scanned the entire subspace, and then moved to Claw Crow. Finally, he focused on the blue charm divine throne. Haha, in front of me, your subspace is nothing. Claw Crow, give me the blue charm divine throne, Bai Tong said directly. Claw Crow snorted. In your dreams. Man Zhuang yelled on the barbarian's ship. Quick, row the ship and leave this battlefield. Man Zhuang might be able to participate in a battle between legends, but this barbarian's ship and the people on it would be destroyed. The barbarian's ship quickly extended oars from both sides. Claw Crow yelled and activated his combat chi according to Bai Tong. The frost shadow giant appeared. It raised its giant fist and smashed it at Bai Tong. The giant fist created a gust of wind. Bai Tong's hair was blown back and his cape was fluttering. Interesting. Bai Tong smiled and slowly reached his hand behind him. The next moment, the muscles on one of his arms bulged and seemed to expand. He seemed to be pulling something huge. He looked like he was having a hard time. Ship, come here. The next moment, his combat chi exploded and formed a portal. He pulled out his saint-level ship, the Striker, with one arm. Boom! The giant ship and the frost shadow giant collided, creating a deafening sound. The frost shadow giant was completely shattered. The Striker continued to attack Claw Crow on the divine throne without any damage. Chapter 375. Bai Harbor. A team of Imperial spies surrounded the entrance of the Life Church's temple, attracting the attention of passers-by. The new member of the spy team waited for a long time, but no one came to greet him. He said impatiently and discontentedly, "Boss, are we just going to stand here? I feel like a rare animal being watched." The boss did not respond. He still stood straight like a flagpole and stared at the gate of the temple. The new member suggested, "Why don't we break in?" The gate of the temple was wide open without any hindrance. "Shut up, idiot." The old member of the spy team finally could not help but scold him in a low voice. "Who do you think you are? The other party is the Bishop of the Life Church." The new member was stunned for a moment, "But we are spies of the Empire. We are now under orders to investigate. Our mission this time is about the gods of the other races. Even if he is a bishop, will he dare to stop us?" "No." The old member sneered. "The spy agency has a lot of power, and this mission is extremely important. Not to mention a bishop, even an archbishop will fully cooperate. According to what you did, we will complete the mission quickly. But so what? We will provoke a strong enemy, a gold bishop's disgust and even malice. What is the level of your bloodline? Is it very strong? Can you become a gold existence in the future? Even if you complete this mission, will your contributions be enough for you to be promoted to the level of a gold bishop?" The new member's face was getting paler and paler, but he was still indignant. "If I had a gold bloodline, why would I join the spy agency, Aurora? But if we are afraid of offending a gold bishop, what should we do about the mission? If we can't complete it, the higher-ups will not forgive us. That's why we are blocking the gate, idiot," the old member said. The new member was stunned. At this time, the head of the spy team finally said, "Don't worry, they will welcome us in." As if to verify his words, as soon as the head finished speaking, a nun came out with a face of disgust and impatience. "Come in with me, the bishop has agreed to see you. Don't stand at the gate of the temple, what are you doing?" The new member breathed a sigh of relief, and followed the rest into the temple under the lead of the head. The Temple of Life was magnificent and made of black jade. It looked majestic, but it also contained a hidden vitality. Outside and inside the temple, there were trees and trees, birds chirping and flowers blooming. Walking in it, people would feel their moods lighten up. When they arrived at the parlor, the priest guarding the door stopped almost everyone in the spy team. "Spies, the bishop will only meet one person." Therefore, only the head of the spies entered the parlor. The reception hall was located in a greenhouse inside the temple. Surrounded by huge floor-to-ceiling glass, one could clearly see the dense green vegetation, bright flowers, colorful parrots, golden-haired monkeys, and so on in the greenhouse. There was a sofa and a milky white coffee table in the living room. There was nothing on the coffee table. Bishop Halford stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the scenery outside, his back facing the spy leader. When he heard the head spy approaching, he slowly turned around. The spy leader immediately took the initiative to bow and greet Bishop Halford. He also stated the purpose of his visit. "Honorable Bishop, you must already know the purpose of our visit." Bishop Halford nodded. "I've already told you about the Justice Pirates, haven't I?" The spy leader nodded. "That's true, but there are still many doubts. For example, one of them is that the bishop once secretly funded this pirate group. The reason given by the bishop at that time was to repay the life-saving grace. However, according to the confirmation of the diviner, this reason is not valid. The bishop once performed resurrection and has resurrected the members of the Justice Pirates who died in battle. The life-saving grace should have been repaid." Bishop Halford sneered. "Diviner? You have to know that the divination of these people has the possibility of failure every time." The head spy nodded again with a smile on his face. Ever since he entered the temple, his attitude had been very good. "Indeed, my lord, you are absolutely right. However, I came to review this time mainly because of the order given by Admiral Yen Tan himself. We can't guess his thoughts, but he must have a reason to do so." Bishop Halford was silent. There was silence in the meeting room. After a long time, the spy leader spoke again. "Dear Bishop, please forgive my rudeness. We are no threat to you. You see, I'm just a silver rank. However, this time you kept the secret. What about the future? Because this matter is related to the gods of other races, our spy team can be easily dismissed by you, but if the people of the Bloodbath Sanctions Court are attracted, it will be troublesome for you, right?" Bloodbath Sanctions Court. Bishop Halford frowned and immediately smiled bitterly. "It's more than troublesome. I don't want to provoke those lunatics. You are a good spy. You won't blame me for leaving you at the door of the hall for so long, right?" The spy leader chuckled and saluted again. "Bishop, you must maintain the dignity of the Church of Life. In this regard, it's my honor." Bishop Halford sighed and motioned the spy leader to sit down. The spy leader stood until the bishop sat down, then he sat on the sofa and put on a posture of listening attentively. Bishop Halford pondered for a moment and said, "The reason why I really funded this pirate group is actually very simple. I have the ability to detect the bloodline grade, and I found that the captain of the dragon suit has a legendary level flame dragon bloodline. Not only that, but a half-giant on their ship also has a god-level bloodline like the Earth Giant. I tried to recruit them, but the dragon suit captain rejected me. Now it seems that maybe I was deceived. After all, the blue charm god is best at deception and camouflage." The spy leader's face immediately showed a look of realization. "So that's the reason. Bishop, I'm afraid your speculation is true. How can a god-level bloodline appear so easily? According to our analysis, the Justice Pirates are a chess piece pushed by the Blue Charm God Church. The purpose is to infiltrate the Empire from various channels, spy on the Empire, and prepare for the recovery of the Blue Charm God." Bishop Halford was non-committal. "Maybe. I have given my answer, so what's the answer I want?" The spy leader's expression was cold. He took out a scroll from the pocket of his shirt and respectfully put it on the coffee table. Soon after, the door of the living room was opened, and the spy leader came out. "Let's go." He led the spy team out of the Temple of Life. After the exchange on the way, the new member was very surprised. "That's it? Bishop Halford gave us this answer?" The new member couldn't help but have an obsession with the spy leader. He couldn't help but think, how did this person become the leader? He's too easy to fool. I always feel like we came here for nothing, the spy leader said. This is enough for us to report. He had a feeling in his heart that this should be the correct answer. For this answer, the fortune-teller will confirm it again. And he believed in Bishop Halford for another reason. That was the factional struggle within the Marine. The spy leader knew a lot of things. When the Marine Fleet Admiral was selected, there were 4 competitors. They were Yen Tan, Bai Tong, Fong Gong, and Yi Gui. In order to compete for the Fleet Admiral, the major forces of the Empire fought fiercely. In the end, Yen Tan was elected. This result was beyond the expectations of most people. Yen Tan's background was insufficient. He was a civilian. After he was elected, the rest of the competitors became admirals. Yen Tan couldn't control them. So, the 3 admirals and Yen Tan became the 4 main factions in the Navy. Among the Empire's army, the Navy was established the shortest. Behind the 4 factions, there was a complicated relationship with the Empire's upper echelons. After the spy agency was under the command of the Navy, the spy leader was recruited by Yen Tan's faction. Bishop Halford seemed to have no relationship with the Navy, but in fact it wasn't. Bishop Halford was a clergyman of the Church of Life. Behind him was the Sacred Empire's Grand Duke Jinx. This Grand Duke was not only the leader of the Minson family, but also a noble god. He was the object of worship of the Church of Life. Among the nobles of the Minson family, there was a family called Fong Dong family. The patriarch of this family was Fong Gong, one of the 3 admirals of the Navy. Bishop Halford secretly took a ship in an attempt to go to the wilderness continent, but was ambushed and exposed. He was almost captured by the Gold and Silver brothers. This time, the spy leader was ordered by Admiral Yen Tan to inquire about the Justice Pirate. In fact, it was the initial cooperation between Yen Tan's faction and Fong Gong's faction. In the beginning, the experiment organized by the Church of Life sacrificed too many people, but it did select many strong people. Admiral Yen Tan was one of them. Perhaps it's because of this that the 2 major factions are now secretly cooperating. Alas, outsiders can only see the waves on the sea. In fact, the undercurrent deep in the sea is the complicated truth. The spy leader had a lot of emotions in his heart, but he didn't say it out loud. He glanced at the new member of the team. This guy had no respect for his elders. He thought that his bloodline was the same grade as his, and sooner or later he would reach the same height as him. His attitude was very improper. He didn't humbly ask for advice from his seniors. Such a person, there was no need to remind him. If there were any mistakes in the future, let him take the blame. At the same time the spy team left, in the living room of the Church of Life. Plop. A priest's knees went soft, and he directly knelt on the floor. His hands loosened, and the scroll in his hand rolled down, along the floor, and finally stopped at Bishop Halford's feet. This scroll was given to him by the head of the spies. The contents of the scroll clearly recorded how the priest, who was kneeling on the ground, had leaked information and betrayed Bishop Halford's whereabouts. Chapter 376. Sir, I have sinned. The priest was terrified and stammered. Bishop Halford sat on the sofa and looked at the priest, reminiscing. Jie Jiao, I remember that because of the audition, you obtained the qualifications to join the church, right? Jie Jiao laughed bitterly. Sir, you remember correctly. I was originally a commoner, but after participating in the audition, the blood in my body was awakened, and I obtained the beard-growing blood. Bishop Halford nodded. That year's audition shook the world, and many lives were sacrificed, but it did select some people. You did not have it easy, only 1 out of 10,000 people like you would appear. Sigh, I have suppressed you for too long. Beard-growing blood, gold-rank divine bloodline. Sir, I was too greedy, I have sinned. I have done such a thing to you, it is unforgivable. Please punish me, even if you kill me. Jie Jiao's words were interrupted by Bishop Halford. You have not sinned. Jie Jiao was stunned. Bishop Halford turned his gaze and looked at the dense rainforest outside the window. The rainforest was man-made and was carefully cared for. It was lush and full of life. The tallest tree blocked out most of the sky, followed by many shorter and more luxuriant trees. Then there were dense bushes, and under the bushes was a lush grassland. Bishop Halford looked at the grass and trees, and a compassionate look appeared on his face. Just like how trees thirst for sunlight, they do their best to grow taller, and do their best to stretch their branches and leaves. This is their nature. Life has something in common, and we are the same. So, Jie Jiao, you have not sinned. Sir, it is my fault. I should have told you this secret. Bishop Halford completely released his life aura as he spoke. He was originally gold rank, but at this moment, he revealed a trace of the holy domain's aura. Jie Jiao opened his eyes wide, shocked. Sir, I should have grown taller, that way you can grow taller. Bishop Halford sighed. Jie Jiao, you have been with me for more than 10 years. Do you still remember when we first met? Jie Jiao's memories were evoked, his eyes were red, and tears quickly flowed down. Sir, I have sinned. He lay on the ground, sobbing silently. Bishop Halford sighed again. Go to the abyss. I've already made the arrangements. You will go to Outpost 6 and guard it for a year. A year later, he would come back and inherit this place. I will nominate you as the bishop of this temple. And at that time, I will become an archbishop. Jie Jiao's heart shook violently, and he stuttered, My lord, I betrayed you, and you still treat me like this. Bishop Halford waved his hand. I said, you are not guilty. Striving to improve was the nature of life. I know that you're about to reach gold rank. With the battle record of guarding the Abyss outpost, you'll reach gold rank in a year's time. There won't be much criticism when you become a bishop. Sir, from now on, I will follow your lead. Jie Jiao prostrated himself on the ground, prostrating himself before Hao Fu. He shed tears of gratitude and revealed the secret. Sir, it was General Bai Tong's subordinate who contacted me. Say no more. Bishop Halford stopped him again. Sir? I don't want to fight back against them. Bishop Halford smiled. In fact, even if it was General Bai Tong's subordinate who contacted you, it might not have been General Bai Tong's idea. There are 4 major factions in the Navy. It might be a conspiracy of the other factions. It might even be Admiral Yen Tan's faction. Father Jie Jiao looked at Bishop Halford with a dull expression. It took him a long time to recover. Sir, Admiral Yen Tan also came out of the selection. Without the selection, he was just a commoner. The Church of Life is the benefactor who changed his fate. It's unlikely that he would. The people who were selected at the beginning did not only have a grateful attitude towards my church. Although Yen Tan was a commoner, his connections were the weakest among the 4 major factions in the Navy. But he was very capable and cunning. Anyone who looked down on him was taught a lesson. The initiators of these conspiracies were those who were competing with me for the archbishop position. But there's no need to complicate things now. Doing so will only divert my attention and become my weakness. Right now, all I need to do is to grow up quietly. Speaking of which, it's really a pity. That pirate group, I originally wanted to give them some space and let them grow into the trees around me. I didn't expect that they were not cut out for this. Now I can only forget about it. Bloodline. It was the cornerstone of everything. Whether it was cultivating Do Chi or magic, people with excellent bloodlines would have a cultivation efficiency 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, or even more than that of ordinary people. In terms of infusion of divine power and devotion of faith, excellent bloodlines were more outstanding than ordinary people. Life with a more advanced bloodline was easier to progress in strength and knowledge, grow faster, survive easier, have a longer lifespan, and have a lower cost of trial and error. It was easier to become a leader and establish personal prestige. In military, cultural, economic, and other aspects of competition, people with excellent bloodlines would leave ordinary people behind, or even crush them. All the races in the world were pursuing bloodlines. There was no exception to the excellent bloodlines. The aristocrats married their close relatives and the strong through marriage. For example, alchemy grandmasters and war traffickers experimented with blood nuclei. Blue Charm God designed the test of the fish god and used holy water to baptize. As the god of life, Sun Tzu had always been studying the secrets of life such as bloodlines, which were within the scope of his divine authority. Once, he issued an oracle and held a large-scale prayer. The specific content was to recruit volunteers from all over the world and inform them that there was a high risk of death, but once they passed the test, they would be able to obtain a leap in bloodline. Once this prayer started, it immediately attracted the attention of the world. In the end, there were civilians, slaves, low-level extraordinaires, and so on. There were as many as 1 million of them. The result was very tragic. In the end, only 100 people survived, and they did indeed obtain a leap in bloodline. The rest were all sacrificed. As one of the bishops of the Life Church, Hao Fu knew all too well how precious legendary and god-level bloodlines were. Back then, he accepted Jie Jiao's allegiance because he valued his gold-level bloodline and the possibility of him becoming a bishop in the future. As a scout, Hao Fu protected Jie Jiao, giving him space, time, and nutrients to grow. After all, no matter how high the bloodline's grade was, if it could not grow, it would be meaningless. His own bloodline was actually at the sanctuary level, but he pretended to be a gold-level bloodline. Not long ago, when Hao Fu tried to compete for the position of archbishop, he attracted a lot of attention and spies from his competitors. Only then did he expose the secret of his bloodline, and then he was plotted against. Therefore, Hao Fu understood Jie Jiao very well. At the same time, he also agreed with Jie Jiao's ambition. Sun Tzu's bloodline was a gold-level divine bloodline. It was normal for him to want to become a bishop. Just like how he had the sanctuary-level bloodline, what was wrong with him wanting to become an archbishop? It was too right. What kind of bloodline should have what kind of status? Of course, the prerequisite was that the bloodline had matured. This was not Hao Fu's personal opinion, but a social norm recognized by the world. Other than understanding Jie Jiao, Hao Fu also calculated his own gains and losses. Killing Jie Jiao would bring more benefits than losses. Hao Fu had nurtured Jie Jiao for so many years and invested a lot. Jie Jiao was a priest of the Life Church, and this identity was more troublesome to deal with. If Hao Fu got rid of Jie Jiao, it would give others the impression that he was not a good leader. Especially during the competition for the position of archbishop, Hao Fu's losses would be even greater. There's one more thing. My bloodline is only at the sanctuary level. I'm afraid I'll only be an archbishop in my lifetime. A single tree couldn't hold up a forest. Hao Fu needed to cultivate a forest around him. Jie Jiao was one of them. This parish could not be lost. White Wing Harbor had great potential, and its location was good. Especially during the war between humans and beasts, it would play an important role. When Hao Fu became an archbishop, this parish would be handed over to Jie Jiao, and it would still be under Hao Fu's control. Hao Fu's intention to recruit the young man and the big guy was genuine. If the young man and the big guy grew up in the future, then the friendship and goodwill of a legend or even a god would bring Hao Fu back 10,000 times. What a pity! So they were the work of the Blue Charm Church. Thinking about it, it makes sense. Do you think it's so easy to come across a legendary or god-level bloodline? That spy leader has a point. The Blue Charm God is good at deception and disguise. Even the Shringming Emperor and the others could be fooled. What's the big deal about faking a bloodline and deceiving a small fry like me? Just as Bishop Hao Fu was feeling regretful, deep-sea monster fish was moving rapidly in the deep sea. In the cabin, Goblin Sandow brought a few pearl bubbles to the Tower Genie. "Tower Genie, I'm the war dealer, your master," Sandow said directly. The Tower Genie was speechless. Behind him stood the young merman, ZD, Tsang-Su, and the others. They all looked nervous. The war dealer was a goblin, and so was Sandow. They were the closest in terms of appearance. Therefore, after Tsang-Su went all out and made a few pearl bubbles, Sandow became the most suitable candidate. After a moment of silence, the Tower Genie said, "Welcome back, great master." The eyes of the young merman, ZD, and the others lit up. They couldn't contain their excitement. Sandow immediately said, "Give the people in the cabin a higher level of authority. Give them the highest level of authority." The Tower Genie said, "Great master, please forgive me for not being able to complete this task. The highest level of authority is unique, and only you can have it. The others can have at most level 1 authority. Are you sure you want to give them this level of authority? Please note that if the authority is shared too much, it might cause security problems." Sandow looked at the young merman, Tsang-Su, and the others. Seeing that they were all nodding at him, he said, "Then let's do it this way. Raise the authority of these people to level 1. The Tower Genie said, "Yes, great master. Your order will be carried out immediately." Sandow paused and said, "Now, Tower Genie, raise the access authority of all the databases to level 1. The Tower Genie said, "Yes, master." At this point, everyone on the ship immediately used their minds to communicate with the Tower Genie and read the information inside. There was a huge amount of aura arts, fighting skills, spells, meditation techniques, alchemy blueprints, maps, and so on. There was also the War Dealer's Workshop, military research notes, and the Holy Spring Baptism Alchemy Array set up using blood cores. Look at this Holy Spring Baptism Alchemy Array. The War Dealer really has a close cooperation with the Blue Charm God. With this array we can also improve our bloodline. ZD suddenly said, very excited. Chapter 377. Holy Spring Baptism Alchemy Array? Everyone's attention was drawn. This information was very detailed. As long as they gathered enough resources and manpower, they could set up this array step by step. However, to be more precise, this alchemy array with the blood core as its core was used to increase the density of a certain bloodline in the target's body. This bloodline had to be originally possessed by the target, but the density was not high, or it was hidden and unknown. It was not like the host of the blood core who created something out of nothing. Lan Zeo's face was full of shock. Amazing, I now completely understand why the warlord placed the blood core on the 3rd floor. He placed the other 2 divine artifacts below. How many people can have extraordinary bloodlines? In this world, most people are like Baya, unable to step into the transcendent realm. The blood core and this alchemy array are good news for us people at the bottom. ZD nodded, agreeing with Lan Zeo's words. Her bloodline grade wasn't high either. It was only black iron. There was a period of time when she felt that her bloodline had no future and fell into intense disappointment. She could only look up to those mages with high-grade bloodlines and stride forward in life with a high-spirited attitude. Her lifetime limit was the dark iron rank. Even with the gods personally helping her expand her spiritual space, she had only surpassed the limit of black iron in this aspect. In other aspects, she was still black iron. Now ZD had a new hope. Perhaps I have a hidden high-grade bloodline, but the density is too low. This array can not only be used on us, it can also be used as a bargaining chip to recruit talents. I know that among the masses at the bottom, there are many talents who are unwilling, indignant, and want to take a step forward. It's just that these people have bad fates and do not have high-grade bloodlines. Sandow's face was calm, because he was trying his best to play the role of a warlord in front of the tower spirit. Waves surged in his heart, attracted by ZD's words, and ignited with new hope. Sang-Soo muttered, "Actually, the blood corps and array are more useful to nobles. Every member of the noble family, even if their talent is extremely low, must have a transcendent bloodline. This formation can increase the density of the bloodline. If used on the nobles, it will allow each of them to have extraordinary talent for cultivation." Everyone else's expression changed. Sang-Soo was right. If this thing were to be exposed, all the lower and middle-class nobles in the world would go crazy. At that time, the Justice Pirates, Sandow sighed. "This formation is too troublesome. We don't have the strength to protect it, and it's easy for powerful enemies to rob us." Everyone was silent. However, they were used to it. They had the fairy tale of the mermaid, the green jade golden coffin, the blood core, all kinds of magic circles, almost all the alchemy notes of the war dealer, the blue charm god's body, and the soul of the feathered serpent god. Which one of them was not a precious treasure? "I remember some records in books," Sang-Soo said. "The god of life, Sun Tzu, once issued an oracle for the Church of Life to hold a large-scale special prayer. They announced to the world that they could improve the bloodline of the target. Over 1 million people from different continents and races volunteered to participate. The Church of Life spent a lot of manpower and resources. At the last stage of the prayer, even Grand Duke Sun Tzu personally took action. In the end, over 1 million people sacrificed their lives, and only 100 lucky ones survived. Their bloodline was indeed improved, and their fates changed. But the price was too high. Not to mention the resources invested, the death of over 1 million people caused the Church of Life to be criticized. The power of the Church shrank, and the belief in the God of Life plummeted. Even Sun Tzu's divine power weakened because of this. After this, Grand Duke Sun Tzu never held a second one. The world has never stopped pursuing and experimenting with bloodlines. The God of Life has always been at the forefront of the world because of her divine position. In my opinion, she only lacks a blood core. Sang-Soo was not very good at alchemy. For a long time, he had been forced to do a lot of alchemy for the sake of the righteous pirate. Benefiting from the notes of the war dealers and so on, Sang-Soo's vision in alchemy was not low. He recognized that, although the array was mysterious and full of the marvelous ideas of the war traffickers, the real core of the array was the blood core. The blood core was the main body, and the array was only auxiliary. Sang-Soo continued his analysis. At present, the blood core can absorb life and the target's bloodline. The host of the blood core can consume the magic power in the blood core to create something out of nothing and possess any bloodline contained in the blood core. The concentration of the bloodline depends on the collection in the blood core. According to the description, the array supporting the Holy Spring baptism can increase the concentration of a specific bloodline in the target's body. The premise is that the target's body originally contains this bloodline. No matter how low the concentration of the bloodline is, it is feasible. But the price of this is a huge consumption of divine power, material and manpower to create the array, and the specific bloodline in the blood core. At this point, Sang-Soo stroked the thick white beard on his chest. In this way, our next goal is to actively absorb the human bloodline. The main body of the righteous pirates was the human race. Absorbing the human bloodline became the primary goal of the blood core. But as soon as these words came out, the expression of the young Murloc changed first, and the expressions of the others also changed. The atmosphere also became subtle. The young Murloc was silent for a moment and said in a heavy tone, "When I was on the island of confusion, I knew about the blood core in my body. I used to warn myself not to indulge in power and commit crimes that harm others. I am a knight, not a demon. When I created the righteous pirates, why did I use the name Justice? It was also to warn all of us that although we have made mistakes and killed Scab, we should not degrade ourselves. If we bring nightmares to others in order to live a good life for ourselves, then what are we? How can we face ourselves, the torture of conscience, the condemnation of morality? At this point, the young man's gaze swept over everyone in the cabin, and his expression was very sincere. The blood core is very powerful and wonderful, but it is only a tool. To be honest, I was afraid of it. I have always been on tenterhooks. I've always told myself that I'm a knight, not a murderer. I will never slaughter innocent people for no reason just to collect bloodlines. At this point, the young man was resolute and decisive, and his expression was very firm. Everyone fell silent. Sang-Soo frowned slightly. Lan Zhao was the first to speak, and he looked at the young man with eyes full of worship. Master, you have a true heart of benevolence and justice. I will always follow you, no matter which path you take. ZD laughed softly, and her eyes were as tender as water. No matter what you look like, you will always be my knight. Sandow nodded. I have seen many people, but master, you are indeed one in a million. Sang-Soo relaxed his brows, shook his head, and said helplessly, All right, I understand. However, even if we don't take the initiative to collect bloodlines, we shouldn't let those enemies go, right? Master, you didn't kill Major General Chiao and the 3 silver fighters from the Glory King family. Next, I sincerely hope that Master can harden your heart and not waste these precious resources that can be used. Maybe there is a corresponding bloodline in our bodies. The young merman didn't respond immediately. He pondered for a while and then nodded heavily. I promise you about this. ZD suddenly smiled. Actually, there is no need to make it so serious. We have gained a lot this time, haven't we? We shouldn't let the enemies go, and we can also take the initiative to collect bloodlines. Master, isn't your Zhenjin bloodline the blood of the Golden Needle Queen Bee that the traffickers used the blood core to transfer into your body? With this reminder, everyone's eyes lit up. Actually, what we lack the most now is a method to detect bloodlines. ZD continued, the prerequisite for this method is that we have to have a certain bloodline in our bodies. However, because the concentration of the bloodline is too low, most of the methods won't work. If we can find this method, it will be the most helpful for collecting bloodlines in the future. ZD's suggestion was very reasonable, and everyone nodded in agreement. Perhaps this kind of bloodline detection method is in the database of the war traffickers? Cyanobacteria asked. Thus, everyone continued to search. Unfortunately, there was no such method in the database. However, everyone found something else. Sang-Soo found a new method to collect more divine power. It was a live sacrifice. Sang-Soo said, using this method, I can modify the memories and make the believers voluntarily offer their bodies and souls to the Blue Charm God. This way we can obtain a large amount of divine power in a short period of time, and even be rewarded by the god. However, this method has a major drawback, and that is that it will easily attract the attention of the gods. Therefore, we have to consider the gods' attitude towards us. Everyone hesitated. Lan Zhao said worriedly, sacrificing these believers to the Blue Charm God will greatly increase its power. What if he responds to us with anger and destruction? ZD interrupted, that's why I've always had an immature idea. Perhaps we can negotiate with the Blue Charm God. Negotiate? Everyone was shocked. ZD nodded. That's right. We are in a very dangerous situation now, and we have no chance of winning against the Qingming Empire. The production of the pearl foam in our hands can't meet our needs at all. Right now, we are only struggling at death's door. Once we encounter the gods of the Empire, we will be doomed. Actually, it doesn't have to be a god or a legend. A sanctuary expert can destroy us. We have to borrow the power of the gods to have any hope. Chapter 378. ZD's suggestion caused everyone to feel a trace of shock. Negotiate with a god? Was that even possible? It was like an ant trying to negotiate with an elephant. The difference between them was too great, and the ant who had such an idea was overestimating himself. Cyanobacteria gulp. Blue charm god isn't a human. She's a god of another race. Moreover, we were involved in destroying the Blue Charm God sect in the Sky Pillar CI. ZD shook her head. But we didn't do it on purpose. Our original intention was to steal some divine power so that it would be easier to produce pearl foam, wasn't it? Moreover, without the pearl foam and our captain, the Blue Charm God would have been dead. Her words made sense, and everyone's eyes lit up. ZD was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Although she was in a weaker position, she was good at using the methods of a merchant to mediate with the strong and obtain the greatest benefits for herself. ZD continued speaking. We now know that the war traffickers are secretly working with the Blue Charm God. They are close allies. The strong people of the Bloodlust Judgment Court killed the war traffickers. Although the Maze Island was destroyed, we are the successors of the war traffickers. From this point of view, we can inherit the alliance between the war traffickers and the Blue Charm God. The most important thing now is that if we are captured and killed by the Empire, the Blue Charm God will be completely destroyed. Only by working together can we maximize our chances of survival. The foundation of our cooperation is huge. No one spoke, and they all began to think. After a while, Sang-Soo broke the silence. He first agreed with ZD's words, but at the same time, he mentioned an old saying, "Gods are unpredictable." All of this is because we are thinking from the perspective of humanity, but God is based on divinity. If the Blue Charm God receives our sacrifice and is awakened, she will be angry and punish us severely. We can't bear the consequences. The risk is huge. Moreover, we don't know how much strength the Blue Charm God has left. Her main body has never fought, so there is another possibility. We negotiated with him and woke him up. He didn't need our help and killed us directly to vent his anger. Then, he still had the strength to escape from the gods of the Empire. The young merman was also worried about this. His heart was on tenterhooks. During the Sky Pillar CI battle, he had used Blue Charm God's body as a shield and a weapon at the same time. Hesitantly, he said, "High Priestess Blue Charm once told me that Blue Charm God is in a terrible state. She has always been in a state of self-deception. Only by hibernating like this can she preserve herself and not be dragged down by her injuries. If we really let him awaken, not only will we be unable to protect ourselves, I'm afraid he will be the same." ZD shook her head. There must be a way to communicate with the dormant Blue Charm God. Otherwise, why would the war traffickers work with Blue Charm God? Furthermore, during the battle at the Sky Pillar Ocean's Eye, Blue Charm God's true body sensed the changes in the outside world. That's why she repeatedly created a god clone. Sang-Soo nodded. If High Priestess Blue Charm is still alive, she might know how to communicate with Blue Charm God. I haven't been a blasphemy priestess for long, so I can't do that. Everyone discussed for a while and reached a consensus. It was too risky to communicate with Blue Charm God and negotiate with her now. However, this was a good suggestion. In the future, if they really had no other choice, they could use the Empire's strength and danger as a bargaining chip to indirectly force Blue Charm God to cooperate with them. Actually, we don't necessarily need Blue Charm God's help, Lan Zhao suggested. We have other options. We can rely on Firebeard. Firebeard? That's right. Lan Zhao nodded. Although I'm not a pirate, I made a living on the Pig's Kiss. I've heard too many stories about Firebeard on the sea. He risked his life and valued friendship. He was a man of his word. He was generous for his brothers. Among the 3 legendary pirates, he's the one most likely to ascend to the pirate throne. I think the main reason why the Empire's spies want to deal with the Firebeard pirates is because the scale of the Firebeard pirates is too large and too threatening. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Plus, we've had close contact with Grey, Gold Chin, Sea Snake, and Kaze Yao. Everyone fell into deep thought again. Sky Pillar CI. Kacha. The subspace wall was full of cracks. In the subspace, two legends were fighting fiercely. Finally, the subspace that acted as the battlefield reached its limit and couldn't withstand the shockwaves of the battle. Boom. The subspace shattered into billions of pieces like glass. Claw Crow spat out blood and suffered a backlash. Without this subspace, Manzhuang, Mudo, the barbarian warship, and the striker were all exposed and returned to the main world. Bai Tong raised his head and looked at Zhuaya with his big nostrils, showing obvious disdain. You think too highly of yourself to play with space in front of me, Zhuaya. Claw Crow wiped the blood from his mouth, and still sat cross-legged on the large shell throne. He sneered. If that's the case, then I'll let you have a taste of this. The battle started again. The two sides fought back and forth, causing frost to fill the sky and space to explode. Claw Crow was at a disadvantage again. He had to consider many things. On one hand, he had to protect the barbarian warship. On the other hand, he had to suppress the Blue Charm throne. Finally, he had to deal with Mudo. He had to admit that Mudo was a rare strong enemy. The key was that he could subdue Claw Crow. Claw Crow's main attack was frost. The extreme cold could slow down or even freeze the enemy. But Mudo had the space bloodline of a legend. His attacks could penetrate space and hit the enemy in the next instant. Lord Claw Crow, I'll stall him. Take the throne and leave. Manzhuang shouted. Manzhuang's actions were suicidal. But the barbarians didn't care about life and death. Dying in battle was the highest honor in their lives. Claw Crow shook his head. Leave. The great elder of the barbarians told me before leaving. The barbarians didn't lack sacred domains. But Manzhuang was the only believer of the barbarian god. He could communicate with the barbarian god and receive the help of the barbarian god's godly power. This was too valuable. To the barbarians, it was more important than the legendary level Claw Crow. Manzhuang gritted his teeth and could only retreat. The great elder of the barbarians had deep influence. Even the legendary level Claw Crow was willing to listen to him. Manzhuang was no exception. But even if Manzhuang wanted to leave, Mudo wouldn't let him. Are there deserters like you in the barbarians? Die in battle. Mudo suddenly appeared and hovered above the barbarian warship. Ship come. He stretched out his arm and pulled again. The space behind him cracked. The giant firing needle warship crashed into the barbarian warship. The firing needle was a sacred level magic ship. Its attacks were shockingly powerful. The barbarian warship couldn't escape in time. If it was hit, everyone on the ship would die. If Manzhuang didn't have the godly power, he would also be in trouble. This again. Claw Crow was furious. He came forward to block the firing needle. But because of this, he revealed a flaw. Mudo took advantage of the situation and attacked him. He spat out blood again. Mudo, if you have the guts, fight me fair and square. Claw Crow roared. Mudo smiled. Attack the enemy's weakness. This is the art of war. I will kill this group of people. You can't stop me. I will kill them all in front of you. Ah. Mudo attacked again. He could pierce through space. He appeared and disappeared like a ghost. His attacks were sharp. Just as the barbarian warship was about to be destroyed in his hands, a loud voice resounded. Please stay your hands. My brothers are still on the ship. Mudo and Claw Crow's expressions changed. They turned to look at the sky. They saw where the sea met the sky. A pirate fleet slowly sailed over. The size of the fleet was huge. There were hundreds and thousands of ships. Their flags swayed in the wind. It's boss. In the prison at the bottom of the barbarian warship, Feng Yao suddenly sat up from his bed. Boss. Dusty was also very excited. Fire Beard. Mudo was stunned. Then he laughed coldly. Do you think I will stop just because you say so? You want me, an admiral, to stop? Because of your appearance, there is one more reason to destroy this ship. Die. Muto used his fighting technique. The barbarian warship couldn't dodge. Claw Crow dragged the throne over and blocked in front of the fighting technique. Muto suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already hovering above the barbarian warship. He raised his hands above his head as if he was lifting something heavy. Then, he suddenly jumped up. The veins on his hands popped out. He grabbed the invisible space and threw it down. Fighting technique, throwing empty mountain. An invisible mountain pressed down. At the same time, the surrounding space also locked down the barbarian warship. It was like an insect trapped in amber. It couldn't move at all. Even Manzhuang was no exception. Damn it, it's too late. Claw Crow couldn't help in time. He could only watch. But in the next moment, the sky changed color. Claw Crow and Muto's eyes suddenly turned red. The air became extremely hot. The blue sea turned into a vast sea of fire in the blink of an eye. The flames rose and burned. It burned the barbarian warship. Muto and Claw Crow's expressions changed. They quickly ran away. Then, Firebeard's calm voice resounded. "No one dares to kill my brothers in front of me. I'm angry." Chapter 379. In the Sea of Fire, the flames burned fiercely. Combat technique, cold birds. Claw Crow's body was spewing out combat energy. The combat energy flowed like water, and countless cold birds flew out from it. The cold birds were divided into 3 groups. One group flew around Claw Crow as if they were protecting him, another group attacked Baitong, and the last group attacked Firebeard from afar. However, the Dochi frost birds that were flying above the Sea of Fire started to spontaneously combust after a short 1 minute. The cold birds burned into balls of fire and struggled in the air. They turned into fire birds and changed their direction of attack. They attacked Claw Crow, Baitong, and the rest of the barbarians. How can this be? Claw Crow was shocked. After his combat energy was burned, he lost all connection and became Firebeard's property. My understanding of cold and freezing is completely crushed by him. Firebeard, this guy is probably close to God. Claw Crow could only defend in a hurry against the firebirds that flew over. Baitong's side was not much better. He gritted his teeth, opened up space, and sent the striker away. In just a short while, the striker was already showing signs of melting. This was a sacred-level magic ship, but it had no power to resist in the Sea of Fire. Baitong could only send it away. Not only that, even he himself felt extremely hot. If he did not use all his combat energy to suppress it, he would have burned up. His understanding of fire, burning, and other concepts is too deep. Even the space around me is melting. Firebeard, he really lives up to his name. Baitong was an admiral of the Navy. Before he joined the Navy, he had always heard of Firebeard's name. At that time, he was only a sacred level. He joined the Navy, became a legend, and became an admiral. He led one of the 4 major factions in the Navy. Relying on his bloodline and the convenience of space manipulation, he had always been doing well. He had long wanted to challenge a senior like Firebeard. But this time, when he really fought with Firebeard, he realized that although he and Firebeard were both legends, he was far from being the opponent of the latter. Powerful, too powerful. Firebeard is probably very close to the level of God. No wonder there are rumors that the fire gods of the Xingming continent, the lava continent, and the wild continent are all looking for trouble with Firebeard. Firebeard was so powerful that he had become a thorn in the side of the fire gods. Why should I fight such a tyrant head-on? Let the fire gods find trouble with him. I only have one goal here, and that is the blue charm divine throne. Baitong used all of his strength and displayed his trump card Do skill. In the next moment, the space was in chaos. Billions of space fragments swept across the entire battlefield, drowning the barbarian's battleship, the Claw Crow, and Baitong himself. The angry roar of the claw crow could be heard from the endless space fragments. Then, boom! A violent explosion occurred, and for a moment, the sky turned into a blazing white color. It was so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. The aftermath of the all-out fight between the two legends struck the barbarian warship. The barbarian battleship was melted by the white light, like snow under the sun, turning into dust. The barbarian warriors on the battleship were also reduced to dust. Man Zhuang tried his best to resist, but at the critical moment, a bloody shadow appeared beside him and took him away. The incandescent light corroded almost all of the barbarian battleships and spread to the front of Feng Yao, Yi, and the other prisoners. "We're finished." Feng Yao, Yi, and the others' faces were ashen. Their bodies melted in the white light, and in the blink of an eye, more than half of their bodies had disappeared. However, right at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared. He looked at Feng Yao. Feng Yao was covered in ash, and his entire body was emitting a faint fiery light. Because of this, the blazing white light did not move an inch. "First Master, boss." It was Firebeard. His head and chin were bald, and he didn't even have eyebrows. He looked fierce and heroic, but also a little strange. His figure was tall and burly, and his muscles were like blocks of stone. However, he was not bloated like a bear, but rather very tall and majestic. He was wearing the attire of a pirate captain, with a broken scimitar hanging from his waist. The hilt of the scimitar was like the head of a phoenix, and the body of the scimitar was like the tail of a phoenix. The scimitar exuded a god-level aura. It was a divine weapon. It was a half-damaged divine artifact, Roaring Tailblade. "It's all right, brothers. I'm here." Firebeard smiled at Feng Yao and Ash. His palm rested on the hilt of the Roaring Tail saber, and the phoenix head spewed out golden flames. The flames flowed onto Feng Yao and Ash's bodies, forming two fiercely burning torches. The torches parted the surrounding white light, and Feng Yao and Ash's bodies were quickly healed. Very quickly, their bodies were as good as new, and there were no injuries on their bodies. When the white light dissipated, the phoenix flames also dissipated. Feng Yao and Ash's bodies were still alive, and their condition was extremely good. They scanned the battlefield, and Bai Tong and Zhua Ye were already nowhere to be seen. Other than them, there were many other captives who were also healed by the phoenix flames and survived. These captives were supported by Firebeard's Do Chi, and were temporarily suspended in the air. The sea of flames from before had already disappeared, and the battlefield returned to its normal state. "Master Firebeard, you saved me. Please let me join your fleet. I am also willing to follow you." "First Master, Blue Charm Divine Throne is gone," Ash's body said nervously. Firebeard shook his head. Bai Tong snatched him away, and Zhua Ye saved the barbarian's sacred domain. "Boss, it's all my fault. If not for saving us, Blue Charm Divine Throne would definitely be yours. The two of them are no match for you." Feng Yao's expression was guilty. Firebeard patted his shoulder. "It's all right. For my brother, what's a mere Blue Charm Divine Throne?" He laughed loudly, and his heroic spirit was admirable. "It's not like that." Feng Yao grabbed his hair, extremely distressed. "That's the divine throne of my beloved goddess. It was snatched away just like that. For my goddess, I must get it back. Boss, help me, my life's happiness depends on you." Firebeard, Ash's group, Blunt Blade City. Dungeon. The torches burned, but they couldn't illuminate the cell. The person in charge of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce in Blunt Blade City was on the verge of death, and his body was covered in wounds. The ones who were interrogating him were a group of Imperial spies. "Tell me, how did you transport those alchemy bombs into the city, and then set them up?" The spies' leader's gaze was cold. I really didn't." The person in charge of the shop shook his head and cried. "You didn't? Without a local like you, how could the alchemy bombs be so fast and secretly placed all over Blunt Blade City?" If you confess now, you'll suffer less. The spy's leader sneered. The person in charge only shook his head. I really don't know. Continue with the torture. The spy's leader sneered. Thus, the person in charge of the shop continued to howl miserably in the dungeon. However, no matter how much torture was used, the person in charge still didn't confess. This was because he knew very well that if he showed weakness in this aspect, not only himself, but also his entire family would be implicated. I don't know anything about these alchemy bombs. Humph, without your secret cooperation, how could the Justice Pirates have set up these alchemy bombs in such a short time? Could it be that your family, the other families, or even the mayor himself set them up? The person in charge wailed. I've already told you everything I know. That night, I received orders from the higher-ups of the Wisteria Merchant Guild and verified their elder tokens. That was why I received them. How could I have known that they were the lackeys of the alien gods? Seeing that he couldn't get anything new from the interrogation, the spy's leader had to drag the unlucky person in charge away. Leader, what should we do next? Should we investigate the mayor or the other families? The spy's team walked out of the dungeon. The spy's leader shook his head. I'm only at the silver level. In their territory, I'd better be careful. Fortunately, we've already found something this time. Did you bring the thing? Yes, the subordinate immediately replied. The spy's leader saw a pile of fragments. These were the fragments of the communication magic device. During the interrogation, the person in charge told ZD and the others in detail about their itinerary after entering the city that night. He also told them that she had used the magic device to communicate. However, the person in charge had stayed outside the door at that time and didn't know who ZD was communicating with. The day after the black market auction, the person in charge found that the magic communication device in the shop had broken down. He asked someone to repair it, but there was a mini explosion, and the whole communication device was blown into a pile of fragments. The spy's leader picked up a small piece of fragment, but couldn't observe anything. He couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Sir, can we report these things? The subordinates were also worried. The spy's leader said, First, hand over the things we interrogated and these fragments. We have to stay here for the time being and wait for new orders from above. The military port, Navy headquarters. The space broke open, and Bai Tong stepped in and returned here. He was in pain and lifted his clothes. He saw that most of his skin had been burned red, and the burns were serious. Fire beard. When he thought of the tall and burly figure, Bai Tong's heart was full of fear. If it wasn't for Feng Yao, Ash and the others who restrained him, I wouldn't have been able to get the blue charm divine throne. This guy is a monster. He had already drunk the potion, but it had little effect. To treat this kind of injury, he had to go to the temple to seek treatment. There were several temples in the military port. Bai Tong put down his clothes, covered all the injuries on his body, and walked out of the room. Sensing Bai Tong's return, the Marines who stayed here were very surprised, and immediately reported all kinds of information to him. The Justice Pirates were still escaping, and Wei Xing's huge fleet was chasing after them. A Marine saint had already caught a clue, and was personally pursuing the Justice Pirates. There was also news from Bishop Howford and Blunt Blade City. Bai Tong was a little surprised. He saw the report of the spy team interrogating the person in charge of the wisteria shop. That night, the Justice Pirates used the magic communication device to contact someone? Who? Humph, the communication device was destroyed, and these fragments are also clues. As long as we can get the Alchemy Grandmaster, we will be able to find out. Bai Tong's eyes flashed, and he instantly decided to investigate thoroughly. This clue was extremely valuable. Chapter 380. The spy team was of a lower level and did not know the truth about the Justice Pirates, but Bitong was very clear. Usually, when the magic communication device is damaged to this extent, the investigation can no longer be carried out. But, because it involves a foreign god, the Empire will definitely use all their resources to investigate. Most alchemists will not be able to obtain anything from these fragments. But it's different for an alchemist grandmaster. Alchemists were very rare, and even the Sacred Empire only had a few of them. Bidong himself did not have many connections and could use his own name to ask an alchemist for help. However, as long as he reported this key information, he believed that the Empire would definitely send an alchemist. I have a feeling that the Justice Pirates contacted someone in the middle of the night. Must be someone important in the Empire. Hee. When it comes to colluding with a foreign god, even a duke will be judged. Blue Charm God was an enemy of the Sacred Empire and was already confirmed. Even a duke would not be able to protect himself if he committed treason. This crucial piece of information was quickly reported to the higher-up. The Empire's higher-ups immediately responded. The request to investigate the contact was quickly sent to the alchemists in the Empire. Night spirit seas. Blue sky, white clouds, and a gentle breeze. Boom, 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 a giant paddle with two heads was held in the hands of a giant as it dove into the sea. Each time, it created waves more than 3 meters high. A middle-aged human man was lying on the deck, looking at the blue sky and white clouds, enjoying the beautiful scenery of countless sparkling water droplets dancing in the air. "Seems like it's good to go out to sea occasionally," the middle-aged man muttered. "Yes, master." The ship spirit's mechanical voice sounded. The middle-aged man was handsome and wore a gorgeous magic robe. The coat of arms on the surface of the robe showed that he was of noble origin, the Steel Pound family. On the other hand, it showed that he was at the pinnacle of alchemy, a Grandmaster Alchemist. That's right, this was the Grandmaster Alchemist of the Steel Pound family, Tucker. The ship spirit's voice sounded again. "Master, there's a message from your teacher." "Oh? Tell me about it." Tucker sat up. The ship spirit's voice changed and became the same as his teacher's. After listening to all the contents of this communication, Tucker's face flashed with a strange color. "Justice Pirates? Teacher is really something." It was clearly a mission assigned to him by the Empire, but in the end, he handed it to me. It's going to be really difficult for me to find the mysterious contact among the broken pieces of magical devices. For a moment, Tucker frowned in distress. He still had a long way to go before he could become an alchemy grandmaster, but this time, his teacher assigned him this task in the form of a test. "If you give me 2 or 3 years, I will definitely be able to complete this test." However, although the teacher didn't say it explicitly, as long as you use your brain and think about it a little, you will know that there is a time limit to this exam. Most of the difficulty lies in this aspect. Tucker returned to the cabin and looked at the pile of debris that had been teleported over. He fell into deep thought. What should we do? If I were to completely repair this magic communication device, I might be able to find clues, or I might be able to repair it into a brand new magic communication device. What if I use alchemy to refine these pieces and specifically extract the information from them? But if the core fragments are completely mixed in, there will be a lot of information, and it will be chaotic. It will take even longer to sort it out. Just as Tucker was thinking, the voice of the ship's spirit rang out. "A shipwreck has been found 6 nautical miles ahead." Let me see. Tucker soon saw a magic image. Ship spirit. According to speculation, the probability of a tsunami is as high as 80%. Tucker nodded slightly. Sailing on the sea is not just about sea beasts and strong enemies. Sometimes the anger of nature is even more despairing. Ship spirit, would you like to carry out rescue work? Tucker smiled. Of course, but it's not that easy to board my Iron Giant. Broadcast to me that only those who can afford a ticket can board my ship. Ship spirit. Understood, my master. And in the gradually sinking shipwreck, the crowd was already cheering. "We're saved. I told you, there are a lot of passing ships on our route." "What kind of ship is this? It looks so weird." Overwhelmed by surprise, the crowd discussed animatedly while loudly calling for help. Among the crowd was the leader of the 100 Needles family. Leader. Armtile stood next to the leader of the 100 Needles family and said in a low voice, "It seems to be the Iron Giant." The leader of the 100 Needles family nodded. Indeed, as one of the nobles, he knew a lot about the upper echelons of the empire. The leader of the 100 Needles family paid more attention to people like Tucker. At this moment, the 100 Needles family looked into the distance and saw that the Iron Giant was sailing directly toward them with double-headed oars. The Iron Giant had a strange appearance. Its hull was similar to a canoe, but the hull was made of steel. The hull of the ship was replaced by an alchemy puppet. The alchemy puppet only had an upper body. It was a giant 5 or 6 meters tall. The giant held a long double-headed oar in his hand. Every time the head of the oar hit the surface of the water, it would smash a hill-like wave. As the Iron Giant approached, the voice of the ship spirit came out. "This is the ship of the Steel Pound family, Earl Tucker. If you want a ticket, please pay 80 gold coins or something of equivalent value." "What? 80 gold coins, that's too much. This is robbery." "This is a gold magic ship. Is the big shot on board so stingy?" The crowd was in an uproar. At the same time, the ship's spirit said in the cabin, "A high-value target has been found in the crowd." "Let me see." Tucker focused his eyes and began to glow. "So it's the leader of the 100 Needles family. Why is he here?" Just as the leader of the 100 Needles family knew Tucker, Tucker was no stranger to the leader of the 100 Needles family. The ship's spirit said, "Analyzing. Analysis complete. The only heir of the 100 Needles family, Templar Jinjin, disappeared at sea a few months ago. The 100 Needles family tried their best to rescue him and issued a large reward, but they never found Jinjin's whereabouts. The possibility that the leader of the 100 Needles family entered the Night Spirit Sea to look for his son and heir, Jinjin, is as high as 75%. "I see." Tucker nodded. "Ship spirit, I want to speak." The ship spirit said, "The broadcast device is ready." The next moment, Tucker's voice became extremely loud and enveloped the surrounding area. "Hello, leader of the 100 Needles family. I'm Earl Tucker himself. I'm honored to meet you here. How many 9 mystical swords do you carry with you? As long as you can let me admire these swords for a moment, you can board the ship for free. You don't have to pay 600 gold coins to be rescued." Hearing this, the Armtile was furious and shouted, "Isn't it 80 gold coins?" Tucker laughed. "The leader of the 100 Needles family is naturally worth more than a commoner." "Damn it!" The Armtile clenched his fist. There was a commotion in the crowd, and everyone looked at the leader of the 100 Needles family and the Armtile. After receiving the blackmail letter, the leader of the 100 Needles family had been hiding his whereabouts and rushing to Flame Spray Island at full speed. But now his identity was exposed. The leader of the 100 Needles family patted the Armtile's shoulder calmly and motioned for him to relax. "This is Tucker's character. He didn't mean to target me, but has always followed the principle of fair exchange. Let's board the ship. Time is of the essence." At the mention of time, the anger on the Armtile's face immediately disappeared. It couldn't be helped. It was about Jin's death, which was an important matter for the 100 Needles family. "Alas, I hope this ship is close to our route. Otherwise, we'll have to turn to another dock and board the ship again." The Armtile was very worried. The blackmail letter had urged them to board the ship urgently, but it seemed that accidents were more likely to happen in an emergency. They were shipwrecked midway. Soon, the leader of the 100 Needles family, as well as a limited number of survivors who could afford tickets, boarded the Steel Giant. Most people stayed on the sinking ship. Unable to afford tickets, They could only watch the steel giant go away. It wasn't until the ship disappeared on the horizon that this group of people began to curse. Chapter 381. In the middle of the night, the storm was howling, and the strange waves were rolling. The steel giant crashed in the stormy waves, and the hill-like waves were smashed by the giant puppet's oar. Tucker, the 100 Needles patriarch, and the others were in the captain's cabin. Their bodies were jolted up and down along with the cabin, but the jolts weren't big. The patriarch of the 100 Needles clan glanced around at the various alchemy facilities in the captain's cabin. He was amazed. This magic ship is only gold now, but it looks like it has a complete set of facilities and great potential for further development. This ship's spirit was made by him. Gold is definitely not the end of this magic ship. Tucker, on the other hand, was carefully observing the short sword in his hand. This short sword was about twice as long as a dagger. The blade was like a ruler and had a unique shape. The tip of the blade was straight and had no edge. There were no edges on either side of the blade, so it could be pinched at will without worrying about scratching the skin. The material of the blade was also very unique, reflecting Tucker's tightly knitted brows. The image was incomparably clear, like a mirror of the best quality. The whole short sword exuded a sanctuary-level aura. This was a very high-level alchemy weapon. Tucker's spirit kept shuttling back and forth in the short sword, savoring its structure, dense and delicate alchemy arrays, and various magic runes. After a long time, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and stopped his spirit exploration. With a trace of exhaustion, he sincerely praised, as expected of one of the main swords of the 9 mystical swords. What about the other 2 main swords? Tucker looked at the 100 Needles patriarch. The 100 Needles patriarch shook his head. Of the remaining 2 main swords, one, Illuminator, was lost long ago, and the other, Pearl Plucker, was seized in the battlefield. It's currently a trophy of a high-ranking imperial official. The only main sword left in my clan is this reflector mirror. In its heyday, the 100 Needles Patriarch was a powerful force in the south of the Sacred Continent and had Earl-level territory. The 100 Needles Patriarch gathered a great reward and invited an elf alchemy grandmaster to personally refine the 9 mystical swords. The 9 swords could be divided and combined. When they were divided, there were 3 sanctuary-level main swords of different lengths and 6 subswords, all of which were gold weapons. Zhen Jin's sword, Silver Lightning, was one of them. When the 9 swords were combined, they could form a legendary greatsword. Not seeing the other 2 main swords, Tucker suddenly looked regretful, but soon he stared at the 100 Needles chief with hopeful eyes. "Chief, how many secondary swords do you have?" The head of the 100 Needles clan was silent for a moment. "Only 2. Quick, show it to me," Tucker said happily. The patriarch of the 100 Needles clan drew a sword from his body. "This is the Golden Sun Sword." The shape of the Golden Sun Sword was very mainstream. Its length and thickness were all very standard. The body of the sword seemed to be made of gold. It emitted a faint golden halo, giving people the feeling of a sword of the king. The chief of the 100 Needles tribe handed the sword to Tucker, who immediately checked it with his spirit. He clicked his tongue and said, "Wonderful, wonderful! What else?" "There's also a lead cloud sword, but it's damaged," said the chief of the 100 Needles tribe, gesturing to the arm tile next to him. The arm reluctantly drew his sword and handed it to Tucker as well. The lead cloud sword was lead gray and very simple. There were layers of cloud patterns on the body of the sword, as if it had been hammered thousands of times by a master blacksmith. There were a lot of gaps on both sides of the lead cloud sword. These gaps varied in size, giving the originally flat blade an irregular sawtooth shape. Tucker held the 3 swords and was entranced for a moment. His eyes were shining, and his spirit was severely exhausted. Sometimes he looked at the main sword, and sometimes he stared at the 2 secondary swords. He frowned and fell into deep thought, as if he had encountered a peerless problem. Suddenly, Tucker shouted, "I got it!" The next moment, he instilled his magic power into the 3 swords. Seeing this, the arm tile immediately cried out nervously, "Watch out!" Tucker turned a deaf ear to him and stared at the 3 swords. Under the infusion of his magic power, the 3 swords gradually emitted a halo. The halo of each sword was different. The mirror reverse sword was bright, the lead cloud sword was gray, and the golden sun sword was golden sunlight. When the halo gradually expanded to the size of a washbasin, the 3 swords left Tucker's hands and slowly floated into the air. Tucker raised his head slightly and stared at the 3 swords. He suddenly smiled. So it's like this. With a thought, he actually activated the alchemy array within. The array was activated, and the runes inside were activated. The golden sun sword and the lead cloud sword were suddenly attracted to the side of the mirror reverse sword like magnet. The halo of the 3 swords began to shrink and shrink, gradually converging into the swords themselves. Gradually, the original appearance of the 3 swords could not be seen. There was only golden light and lead gray. As for the mirror reverse sword, its brilliance disappeared and began to reflect the golden light and lead gray light. You. Seeing this scene, the arm tile cried out in a low voice. Tucker's mind moved, and the mirror reverse sword began to fly unsteadily. The other 2 swords maintained around the main sword and flew with it. The face of the 100 Needles patriarch, who had been calm all this time, changed slightly, and a touch of worry gradually appeared in his heart. Tucker laughed out loud as if he had figured out a problem. As expected of the work of an alchemy grandmaster, I didn't know that an alchemy array could be designed and used like this. He withdrew his spirit and magic power, and the 3 swords fell into his hands again. Tucker returned the mirror reverse sword and the golden sun sword to the 100 Needles patriarch, leaving only the lead cloud sword. He stroked the blade that was full of small gaps with his fingers and smiled. The lead cloud sword is a bit damaged, and there are obvious flaws in its coordination with the other 2 swords. I'll fix it now. Huh! The arm tile exclaimed in a low voice. He was about to stop Tucker, but the 100 Needles patriarch reached out and stopped him. Tucker didn't look at the 2 in front of him. His magic power surged all over his body, and a 3-dimensional alchemy array rose around him. He was in the middle of the array, surrounded by runes, and the ritual was running, producing pitch-black flames. The black flames burned on the surface of the lead cloud sword. Countless materials were transported from the bottom of the cabin, according to the array, and appeared out of thin air. They were quickly processed by Tucker and added to the black flames. The black flames dissipated, revealing the repaired, flat blade. The next moment, he stopped using magic power, dissipated the array, and threw the lead cloud sword back to the arm tile. "Take it. I've fixed it." Tucker smiled confidently. The arm tile was skeptical, but he immediately infused his warrior power. The result was unbelievable. He was very surprised. "Really? Let me see." The 100 Needles patriarch drew out his main sword. The mirror reverse sword received the warrior power of the 100 Needles patriarch and immediately became transparent, reflecting the external light. Being summoned, the lead cloud sword immediately left the arm tile's hand and floated back to the mirror reverse sword. Both swords emitted a halo of light, and their auras were faintly connected. "It's really fixed." The 100 Needles patriarch was shocked. He looked at Tucker again and was impressed. "I've heard of your reputation for a long time, but I didn't expect to meet you in person. We've tried to fix the lead cloud sword many times, and we know how difficult it is. I didn't expect it to be so easy in your hands." The 100 Needles patriarch praised Tucker again and again. "How can I repay you? How can I express my gratitude?" Tucker laughed and waved his hand. "No need to thank me. It's a fair deal. Just like the ship ticket, I saved you because of your value. That's why the price of your ship ticket is so high." I've learned a lot from these 3 swords. My teacher assigned me a test question before, but I had no clue at all. It was very difficult. When I saw this combination of alchemy arrays, I got a key inspiration and a novel and correct way to solve the question. If it was any other time, the things I learned would not be worth it for me to personally repair this sword. But to solve the test question, this knowledge just happened to solve my urgent need. So, I repaired this lead cloud sword myself. It's a return of equal value. The 100 Needles Patriarch suddenly understood. I see. Tucker was in a good mood after solving the problem in front of him. The Patriarch and the arm tile were more pleasing to the eye. He said with a smile, "Where are you going next?" "My destination is the fire-breathing island. This time, I'm going to meet the owner of the fire-breathing island and ask her to refine the lower body of the giant puppet. If it's not far, I can take you to your destination." The arm tile was shocked. Their destination was the fire-breathing island. But the 100 Needles Patriarch shook his head. "Our destination is the vertical island." Tucker thought for a moment and said regretfully, "Then I can't take you there. The vertical island is far from the fire-breathing island, and my time is limited. But both sides are on the same route. You can take other ships at the fire-breathing island." The 100 Needles Patriarch and the arm tile hurriedly thanked him. Chapter 382. Early morning. There was a thin mist on the sea and the sound of the tide was heard. The treasure chest slowly moved forward in the mist. "Rear Admiral Tan Mo, take a look at this information." Just after breakfast, the mayor came to the captain's room with a worried look. Tan Mo took the information and skimmed it. The specific content of the information was about the follow-up development in Blunt Blade City. The spy team entered and not only detained the store manager of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce and tortured him, but they also implicated other people and searched the location where the alchemy bomb was installed. The spies are still investigating. We work together to set up the crime scene. They won't find anything, will they? The mayor of Blunt Blade City frowned. He regretted it now. If he knew that the Empire's investigation was so big, he wouldn't have colluded with Tan Mo. Tan Mo's expression also changed slightly. The Empire's investigation was still going on, and it was getting more and more intense, which made him more and more surprised. However, the most important thing now was to stabilize the gold power in front of him. The next moment, Tan Mo smiled and nodded to the mayor. "The situation is a bit wrong." "A bit? It's obviously very wrong." The mayor shook his head. Joe was killed by the Justice Pirates, and the 3 captains of the King Glory clan also lost their lives. The Empire is still investigating everything about the Justice Pirate. What happened to these pirates? We are now chasing them. Don't you have any inside information? At this point, don't hide it from me. The mayor knew that Tan Mo was a member of Igue's faction. Tan Mo rubbed his chin and thought about this matter. Since he received a direct military order from the Marine on Knife Mountain Island, he felt that something was wrong. Why would a silver-level pirate group need 2 rear admirals and even the mayor of Blunt Blade City to capture them? Joe was dead, and the 3 captains of the King Glory clan also died. Tan Mo did no more information than the mayor of Blunt Blade City. Tan Mo knew the cause of Joe's death, and he felt sorry for him. If it wasn't for his carelessness, the Murloc god's son would have to pay a higher price to kill Joe. The deaths of Yao Wan, Yao Ming, and Yao Gui made Tan Mo feel a chill in his heart. The 3 men desperately tried to hold back the Justice Pirate. As a result, the reinforcements did not rush to the battlefield at all. Instead, they went directly to Tianzhu Ci. Bai Tong toyed with Wei Xing, causing Admiral Yen Tan to lose even more face. The political confrontation between the 2 factions entered an even more intense stage. If they hadn't tried their best to stall for time, the 3 members of the Glorious King's family would have been able to escape successfully with their glorious light rush. Sigh, the higher-ups are obviously hiding a lot of things. For the Justice Pirates, I'd better not provoke them. With this thought in mind, Tan-Mo deliberately slowed down the speed of the fleet. Of course, he didn't do it directly. Instead, he changed his course and deliberately drove into the fog to get a reasonable excuse. Tan-Mo looked at the mayor of Blunt Blade City. I know as much as you do. I asked General Igue about it, but I didn't get a response. However, we don't have to be too anxious. The spy is not investigating us, but the Justice Pirate. Although General Igue didn't directly answer my doubts, she also told me that she had sent Vice Admiral Bitterwater. Lord Bitterwater specializes in water spells and minor in divination. At present, he has already captured the whereabouts of the Justice Pirate. We are still a long way from the Justice Pirates. Plus, we were attacked by sea beasts in the fog. I'm afraid we have to rest again. At this point, Tan-Mo raised his eyebrows at the mayor of Blunt Blade City. The mayor of Blunt Blade City froze for a moment and immediately nodded. Yes, we were attacked by powerful sea beasts and can only rest. Where should we rest? Tan-Mo smiled. I've already thought about it. After passing through the fog, the ideal port to rest is on Flame Island. Flame Island. The mayor of Blunt Blade City reacted and praised this decision. That's really good. This island used to be one of the bridgeheads for the demons to invade the main world. Now the island is heavily guarded, and there are 3 ports and 8 docks. Among them, the Sulphur Flame Port is a large port. It is indeed very suitable for us to replenish and rest. The sea was calm. The floaty was stealthily moving a dozen meters underwater. As the captain of the floaty, Vice Admiral Bitterwater of the Imperial Navy was currently in a meditation room. He was a middle-aged human male with slanted eyebrows and small eyes. He always gave off a feeling of distress. At this moment, there was a basin in front of him. The basin was filled with water. He held a small magic staff in his hand. The reddish-brown staff was like a tree branch, only as long as an arm. The thickest part of the staff was no thicker than an adult man's thumb. Vice Admiral Bitterwater was constantly chanting an incantation. His voice was very soft, almost like a whisper. This time, it wasn't just an incantation, but also a hand gesture. His wrist gently moved, following a mysterious and wonderful pattern. The tip of the reddish-brown staff moved in the air. Wherever the tip of the staff went, rays of light would be left in the air. The rays of light were connected to each other, some straight and some curved, gradually drawing a mysterious rune. The rune emitted a faint light. After it was completed, it no longer hovered in the air, but slowly fell. Like a feather, it fell into the water basin. In the blink of an eye, it dissolved in the water, completely dissipating. This was already the 3rd rune that Bitterwater had drawn. Each rune was different, and each of them had their own profound meanings. Vice Admiral Bitterwater stopped chanting. Looking at the mirror-like water surface in the basin, he took a deep breath, slightly adjusted himself, and then began chanting again. This time, his chanting voice was several times louder than before. All of the magic energy in his body continuously surged, pouring into the magic staff, accumulating and accumulating in the magic staff. After accumulating to the limit, Bitterwater's body trembled, and the tip of the magic staff suddenly erupted with a strange light. The strange light was resplendent and dazzling, like a bolt of lightning shooting into the basin. The basin was like a painting, the water surface without any ripples. The strange light was like paint, multicolored as it entered the canvas, leaving behind dazzling traces along the way. The various colors and lines were not similar, forming a sharp and abrupt contrast with each other. Soon after, these colors also dissipated. Gradually, a magic rune appeared in the basin. This rune was different from the previous 3 runes, but if one looked closely, they would find that some parts of the 3 runes had similar patterns appearing in this rune. Bitterwater's gaze immediately focused on this rune, and he quickly and seriously interpreted it. Soon, the rune dissipated. Bitter water relaxed, his face filled with exhaustion. This was his divination magic. The result of this divination was great. According to this divination, now is the best time for me to attack? Vice Admiral Bitterwater hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still clapped his hands. Igue-sama pays a lot of attention to the Justice Pirate. Chop Joe and the others have been killed. If I take down this pirate group, Igue-sama will definitely praise me. Let's do it. Vice Admiral Bitterwater walked out of the meditation room, quickly went to the captain's room, and gave the order to fight. The Justice Pirate's magic ship sailed on the surface of the sea. Suddenly, several alchemy marlins came from the bottom of the water. These marlins plunged into the hull of the ship, and the bombs installed in the fish quickly activated, forming a violent explosion. Enemy attack! Suma was the first to notice and shouted loudly. The Justice Pirate's magic ship shook violently in the explosion. The pirates swarmed out, and the door of the captain's room opened. The Murloc Shensi, Cho, Flute, and the others spoke out, commanding the pirates to fight. In the float, Vice Admiral Bitterwater's face was cold, and he gave the order again to release the alchemy marlins. This time, more marlins rushed to the bottom of the pirate ship. On the pirate ship, the sailors poured ice-blue oil on the side of the ship. The oil merged into the sea, and the explosive power of the alchemy marlins was greatly reduced. Some of the marlins could not even self-destruct. The Navy's offensive effect was immediately reduced. Vice Admiral Bitterwater frowned. He was not troubled, but puzzled. Strange, the other party's higher-ups did not make a move? It's understandable that the gold-level magic ship did not appear. The other party's powerhouses did not make a move, and only used this method to mitigate the attack. The effect was not good. Even if the silver-level bards did not make a move, what about the black iron mages? They did not make a move? Vice Admiral Bitterwater continued to give orders, and the Navy changed their attack method. After a few consecutive times, the Justice Pirate situation was getting worse and worse, and they were at a disadvantage. The gold-level deep-sea monster fish never appeared, and the higher-ups of the island had been commanding, and never personally went out to fight. Not only did the Navy feel that something was wrong, but even the pirates felt that something was wrong. Finally, Vice Admiral Bitterwater personally cast a spell and released a few gold-level water elementals. The pirates were immediately defeated, and there was a large-scale surrender. The truth of many members of the Justice Pirates was also exposed, and they were all illusions. They ran away. The magic ships we left behind are just a pretense. I was deceived. The result of my divination before was wrong. No wonder the divination before the war was good. They must have secretly boarded the fish-shaped magic ship. Looking at the performance of these pirates, they were also kept in the dark. Vice Admiral Bitterwater sighed, and immediately understood that although they won the battle, they could not get the credit. After ordering his subordinates to clean up the battlefield and lock up the captives, he immediately returned to the meditation room and began to continue his divination. He wanted to divine the whereabouts of deep-sea monster fish. However, after 3 consecutive divinations, the process of each divination was very smooth, but the results were different each time. Someone is interfering with me. I'm afraid none of these 3 results are correct. What should I do now? Vice Admiral Bitterwater frowned and could not think of a solution. In desperation, he had to report this result to Admiral Igue. Chapter 383. The bright sunlight shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows into the bedroom. On the soft bed, a blonde beauty slowly opened her beautiful eyes after a good night's sleep. She didn't get up immediately. Instead, she laid down on the warm and fluffy bedding. She used her mind, and the magic device placed in the corner of the bedroom started to operate slowly, playing a relaxing and cheerful tune. She enjoyed the sunlight for a long time before she sat up. Stretching her waist, the blonde beauty's proud and graceful figure was fully displayed at this moment. She lifted the bedding, put on her furry slippers, and walked to the wall of the bedroom. There was a magic mirror that was more than 2 meters tall placed there. The magic mirror's surface suddenly lit up, and a voice came from it, "Good morning, my beautiful mistress." The blonde beauty smiled, but with a hint of distress. "What should I wear today? Mirror spirit, tell me your suggestion." The mirror spirit said, "Mistress, no matter what you wear, you're still so beautiful. I suggest you wear this set today. This kind of tight leather clothes can show off your figure to the greatest extent. It's sexy with a hint of seriousness, majesty, and charm. Especially now that the safety ship has arrived at the Voodoo Rainforest. This set of leather clothes is a saint-level leather armor. It's made from a mix of dragon skin, snake skin, and other leather, and has a high resistance to poison." The blonde beauty was surprised. "We've already arrived at the Voodoo Rainforest?" "Yes, mistress. It's 3 hours after you fell asleep," the mirror spirit replied, and a set of black and red tight leather clothes appeared on the surface of the mirror. The blonde beauty pointed at the mirror, and a ripple appeared on the surface of the mirror. The ripple spread from the center to the frame of the mirror and disappeared. The leather clothes in the mirror also disappeared, and in its place was a thin and smooth silk nightgown. This pink silk nightgown was what the blonde beauty wore when she woke up. And now, she was wearing the tight leather clothes. The silk nightgown in the mirror disappeared, and the blonde beauty's current appearance began to appear. The blonde beauty stood in front of the magic mirror, swaying her body and posing in all kinds of ways. The leather clothes fit her snow-white skin perfectly, outlining her figure even more alluring. From her chest to her waist to her buttocks, her curves were extremely exaggerated. "Not bad, but it's not enough." The golden-haired beauty narrowed her eyes and smiled. Mirror Spirit immediately said, "Then I recommend this set of clothes, master." A nun's habit appeared in the mirror. This was also a sanctuary-level outfit. It had outstanding performance in terms of defending against spiritual attacks and dark magic. "Then put on this one." The blonde beauty reached out and pressed her hand on her chest. The leather coat on her body quickly dissipated, and the nun's habit in the mirror covered her body. This immediately added a lot of elegance and dignity to her. Her snow-white skin and clear eyes, in the black and white nun's habit, gave people a pure and peaceful feeling. "This is the second piece of clothing, but it's still not enough," the blonde beauty said. Another dress appeared on the mirror. This time, it was a princess dress with an exaggeratedly large hemline. The blonde beauty's eyes lit up. "I like this dress very much. Strange, why do I have this set of clothes?" Mirror Spirit immediately said, "This was offered by your subordinate, Vice Admiral Bitterwater, at the beginning of this month. As you can see, this is also a sanctuary-level armor. It can..." "Wait." The blonde beauty frowned slightly. "I remember that I sent Vice Admiral Bitterwater to hunt down the Justice Pirate. Now, how is his situation?" Mirror Spirit immediately reported, according to Vice Admiral Bitterwater's latest report, he attacked the Justice Pirates. As a result, he found that the magic ships that were tracking him were a group of abandoned pirates. The main body of the Justice Pirates has already taken the monster fish magic ship and disappeared. At present, Vice Admiral Bitterwater is waiting for your further instructions. The blonde beauty was Igwe, one of the 3 admirals of the Marine, a legendary mage. When Igwe heard this news, he smiled. "It's a pity, but for Bitterwater, maybe it's a good thing. After all, there's a goddess's body hidden in the Justice Pirate. Forget it this time. For the sake of the clothes he contributed, I won't punish him. Anyway, I don't expect much from him. Let him do as he sees fit." A moment later, Admiral Igwe left the bedroom, pushed open the secret door above her head, stepped on the stairs, and came to the ship. Her safety ship was a sanctuary-level magic ship, but at the moment, from the outside, it was an ordinary small wooden ship. The small wooden ship didn't even have a roof, and only Igue was on board. At this time, Igue was wearing an exaggerated golden pink princess dress. The skirt was loose, and a magic pendant lay on her snow-white chest. She was wearing long silk gloves, and in one hand she held up a parasol. The parasol was cute, small and delicate, with white lace on the edge of the pink umbrella. The small wooden ship slowly moved in the thick green swamp. The surroundings were extremely dense rainforest, with layers of lush branches and leaves, blocking the sun. The water vapor in the air was thick, forming a thin mist, humid and hot. Thick vines and green pythons were entangled, and it was difficult to distinguish. Red-faced baboons peeped in the bushes, and a group of parrots was startled and flew away with strange cries. After a few turns, the waterway came to an end. At the end was a wooden house, dilapidated from years of disrepair. A blonde beauty wearing a gorgeous princess dress, holding a cute parasol, smiled at the small wooden house and said, "Hee Emo Lao, I'm here to see you." The door of the wooden house immediately opened, and a female Naga rolled her eyes at Igue. "What are you doing here? We're good friends. Don't you welcome me?" Igue covered her heart with her hand. "I'm so sad." The female Naga Emo Lao sneered, "Come in, I already had a premonition that you would come. Is it for the Justice Pirates?" Igue's eyes lit up. "Emo Lao, you're indeed a legendary diviner. You're too amazing. I also have a diviner under me, and he can't compare to you at all." "Hee. Are you talking about that bitter water?" "Yes, that useless man." With that, Igue walked into the wooden house. The small wooden hut contained a vast space. Igue was no exception. This wasn't her first time here. Near Spitfire Island, deep-sea monster fish slowly approached a beach. In the captain's room. "There are few people here. We only need to swim for a short distance, about 10 minutes, and we'll be on the island." ZD stroked a crystal ball. The image that appeared in the crystal ball was a barren beach. Sang-Soo suddenly opened the cabin door and rushed in. He was happy, holding dozens of pearl foam in his hand. "Our prayers worked. Look, this time we've gained a lot." In addition to the usual prayers, there was a more special prayer method. The specific ritual of this method varied according to the god. According to the information collected in the Tower Spirit, the Justice Pirates carried out a special prayer. They divided a few magic ships and used them as bait to deceive the pirates and the navy. Sang-Soo muttered, "According to the information, it seems that this time, at least one sanctuary-level existence was successfully deceived by us." The young Murloc sighed. "I hope Suma and the others can survive." ZD took the young man's hand. "If they follow us, they will die. On the contrary, this is the only way to survive. We all know the discipline of the Navy. The credit for capturing pirates is more than killing them. If they surrender, the chances of survival are very high." Alas! The young Murloc's tone was heavy. "Let's hurry up and get on Spitfire Island." Chapter 384. Rumble amidst the thunderous sound, a large amount of black smoke rose. Under the effect of the magic device, the black smoke did not spread in all directions. Instead, it rose straight up and gathered in the sky above Spitfire City, forming a thick black cloud that kept rolling. The young man, ZD, and the others looked up at this scene with surprise on their faces. Not long ago, they sneaked onto Spitfire Island and headed straight for Spitfire City in the southeast corner of the island. Spitfire Island was a super island that Knife Mountain Island could not compare to. There were 3 ports on the island and 1 city on land, Spitfire City. The latter was also the main city on the island and was huge in scale. Because Spitfire Island was the only super island in the nearby sea, it was responsible for the economic, military, cultural, and other functions of the hub. The young man, ZD, and the others were not conspicuous at all. Therefore, they successfully reached the gate of Spitfire City. However, they were about to face a test. At the gate of Spitfire City, there were two huge warrior statues that emitted a saint-level aura. They were two war statues. The statue on the left of the gate held a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. The statue on the right held a two-handed square-headed warhammer in both hands. Both statues lowered their heads slightly, as if in a state of deep sleep. At the feet of the statues were the city guards of Spitfire City. These city guards were also very tall, reaching at least 3 meters in height. All of them were clad in armor and had well-developed muscles. The mayor of Spitfire City is the fire giant Aiu, a legendary mage who specializes in alchemy in the creation of statues. These two saint-level war golems must have been created by her. It is said that the city guards of Spitfire City are different from the other ports. They are only attacked by the giants, who are also Aiu's clansmen and personal guards. Sang-Soo explained slowly. He used to be the butler of a noble and knew the situation of each noble. Although Spitfire City was isolated in the sea, it was a major force in the Night Spirit Seas and was more important than the marquises in the Empire. Especially in the current situation where the humans were attacking the beast. Aiu's tribe is the largest and the last giant tribe in the Xingming continent. Due to the might of the Xingming Emperor, Aiu surrendered to protect her tribe. 1,000 years ago, when the demons attacked the main world, Spitfire Island was one of the demon army's bridgeheads. The space inside the volcano is connected to the abyss. After the army formed by the Xingming Empire defeated the demons on land, they killed their way here and captured Spitfire Island. Under Aiu's request, the Sacred Emperor allowed Aiu to lead the giant tribe to set up camp here. Spitfire City, Sulphur Flame Port, and other places, of demons, Aiu's led by the giant tribe. Of course, the Xingming Empire of investment of the Xingming continent of Spitfire, of the Xingming Empire of the Empire of the Xingming of. With Sang-Soo's narration, everyone had a better understanding of Flame Spray City. Of the Spitfire of the Shone. Zhongji's condition was deteriorating day by day and showed no signs of improvement. The young man and the others used all kinds of scrolls and potions to keep him alive. But now, he was reaching his limit. However, fortunately, after successfully deceiving the Tower Spirit, the Justice Pirates obtained information about the key application of the Sapphire Golden Coffin. If they could build this array, the Justice Pirates would be able to raise the healing effect of the green liquid to a higher level. They would be able to escape from the Golden Sapphire Coffin for a short time and save the Xings of Xings. However, building this array required a lot of alchemy materials, including the inventory of the deep-sea monster fish. There were still many gaps. Wait. The spittle stopped Sandow. Let me go first. I have the blood core. Even if I'm discovered, I can escape at a critical moment. My lord. Lan Zhao immediately dissuaded him. Sang-Soo also said, My lord, let Sandow go. You're the strongest person here. Yes. ZD added, If anything happens, you are the one who is the most capable of dealing with it among us. The spittle was not a brave person. He pondered for a moment and slowly nodded to Sandow. Sandow slowly walked toward the city gate under everyone's gaze. After a rough interrogation by the giant city guards, he paid the entrance fee and successfully entered Spittle City. Seeing this, everyone let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that the pearl foam was effective. They had successfully deceived the city guards. After Sandow, Lan Zhao, Sang-Soo, and the others passed through the city gate and entered Spittle City. However, just as the of the spittle passed through, an accident occurred. Everyone's expression changed. At this moment, they felt the pearl foam on their bodies rapidly disappearing. The spittle was not in danger. The spittle successfully met up with everyone. He did not use the Murloc bloodline, nor was he in the form of a dragonoid. Instead, He changed into a human black iron bloodline. Everyone first dispersed and then met up in an alley at the end of the street. Just now, there must be a strong person targeting us and making a divination or prophecy. At least the legendary level. Otherwise, the pearl foam wouldn't have disappeared so quickly. We have to hurry. This time, we got a lot of pearl foam, but we can't afford such consumption. Sigh. It takes a lot of time and energy to collect the alchemy materials on the list. Let's check if clan leader 100 Needles is here first. At the same time, in the voodoo rainforest, the female Naga Emo was exhausted in the small wooden house. Her aura was obviously weakened. She looked at the soil in the wooden basin with a pale face. There was a grass doll upside down on the soil. Igue's expression was solemn. She witnessed the whole process. She saw with her own eyes that grass grew out of the soil. The grass condensed and twisted into the shape of a doll. However, the next moment the grass doll fell into the soil. A few seconds later, it completely withered. Then, the withered grass spontaneously combusted without fire, burning the wooden basin and the soil. The soil was shaped in the flames as if an invisible hand was kneading it. In the end, the soil in the wooden basin turned into a messy flow of mud. It was like a stream of water, but also like a group of entangled snakes. As you can see, the prediction has failed. Mo Lao opened a medicine bottle and poured a large mouthful of black liquid into her throat. Only then did her complexion improve a little. Igue nodded slightly. The other party is the blue charm goddess. Her main job is to deceive and disguise. It's not surprising that she failed once. But her biggest source of faith has been destroyed. The blue charm goddess sect is almost destroyed. The Navy is hunting the Murlocs in CI City everywhere. How long can she last? Mo Lao rolled his eyes. You still want me to do another divination? Do I want to die? Igue took out a potion. I brought you this longevity potion that can increase your lifespan. Mo Lao's eyes lit up. Even so, I can only do divination for you tomorrow. This is the rule. Igue looked anxious. Please, after tomorrow, the information about the secret transfer of the main body of the Justice Pirates will be completely exposed. We will lose the initiative. At that time, the Navy or the Empire's diviners will take action one after another. Mo Lao sighed. Rules are rules. This is not my rule, but the rule of the ancestral spirit. Unless you can take out a holy object, the ancestral spirits will continue to help me with divination. The voodoo sect that Mo Lao believed in did not worship a single god, but many ancestral spirit. Igue gritted his teeth and smiled bitterly. Where can I get a holy object of the voodoo sect? I told you to work hard to collect holy objects. In the end, you only searched your clothes. Mo Lao snorted coldly. Igue complained. Didn't I work hard? I have collected information through many channels, but the holy objects of the 5 Poison sect are too rare. What can I do? Beautiful ladies, is the holy object you are talking about the one in my hand? At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Igue and Mo Lao's expressions changed drastically. They asked in unison, "Who is it?" Ladies, please don't panic. I have no ill intentions. The light and shadow changed, and an elf swordsman appeared out of thin air in the small wooden house. He was tall and thin, with a handsome appearance. He had slender ears and long green hair. He had a smile on his lips. His clothes were gorgeous, and there was a thin sword at his waist. The hilt of the sword was like a rosebud. Igue's expression changed again. He revealed the elf swordsman's identity in a deep voice. Hua Sheng. He was the great sword saint of the Wood Elves, a legendary pirate. He was as famous as Firebeard. Mo Lao reacted. His expression relaxed slightly, and a thought flashed through his mind. It's you. You can't be here to ask about the location of the Justice Pirates, right? That's right. Hua Xing bowed slightly. He was elegant. Miss Emolau, I have to ask you for help this time. When did you meet him? Igwe looked at Emolau, glaring with her beautiful eyes. Emolau shrugged. I'm just a diviner. You have to understand me. I've been working hard to collect the holy objects of the ancestral spirit. But in your eyes, those clothes are far more valuable than holy objects. At this moment, wisps of black fog squeezed in through the crack in the door. A voice came from the black fog. Are there a lot of old friends here? Seeing the iconic dark magic, Igwe and Hua Xing's expressions darkened. Emolau said, Welcome, Asa. The black fog condensed into a human shape, but there were demon horns on his head. He held a staff in his hand and scanned the three with his blood-red eyes. Finally, his gaze focused on Emolau. His voice was hoarse and unpleasant. This time, I've brought you 3 holy objects, the diviner of the voodoo sect. I just want to know one question. Where is the Justice Pirates? Igwe glared at Emolau again. You're also in contact with Asa? Emolau laughed, a little embarrassed. She patted her best friend's shoulder. It's a deal. Take it easy. Igwe crossed her arms. Hua Xing, Asa, and Firebeard are left. The 3 legends of the pirates are all here. You've also hooked up with Firebeard, right? This time, it was Emolau's turn to glare. What do you mean hooked up? Please, I just want to collect holy objects. Maybe Firebeard should be here soon? But Hua Xing shook his head. He won't be coming. Not long ago, he led his fleet out. After leaving the pirate city, he went straight to the Eye of the Sky Pillar Sea. According to my spies, he's already rescued Feng Yao and the others and obtained the first line of information. Then, he split his fleet into a dozen or so teams with different routes. He probably already knows the location of the Justice Pirate. We have to stop him. If he snatches the Blue Charm God's body, then the new master of the pirate throne will be Firebeard. Chapter 385. Fire-Breathing Castle. ZD, who was wearing a mask, was ushered into a small, quiet reception hall. A merchant was already waiting in the reception hall. Master Mage, I heard from my subordinates that you have a batch of goods that you need to sell? ZD nodded slightly and said in a changed voice, These are the samples. Take a look at the goods first. As ZD spoke, she took out a fire spear, a shield, and half a set of leather armor from her interspatial bag. The merchant immediately examined them carefully. The gun was damaged, and the shield and leather armor were stained with blood. The merchant turned a blind eye to these traces of war. He only cared about the quality of the equipment. After a moment of inspection, the merchant nodded. Master Mage, if your goods are of this quality, then I can give you this price. ZD took the list of prices and only glanced at it briefly before putting it away. I have to discuss this with others. You are only the first shop I visited. I understand. The merchant smiled. You can ask a few more shops and find the most suitable trading partner. But please forgive me for saying this, in this business, the bigger the scale, the higher the price, it is not good. The most important thing is reliability. Our shop has been in this business for more than 80 years. ZD nodded. I will consider it. The so-called business was to write off the account. Because Fire-Breathing Island was the only super island in the nearby sea, there were a lot of people. The size of the port, the wharf, and the market were all very impressive. This led to pirates using this place as the first place to write off the accounts after plundering. The guns and other things that ZD took out had obvious Navy insignia. But the merchant didn't seem to see it at all. After ZD left this shop, she immediately went to the next one. In the early morning, the Justice Pirates entered Fire-Breathing Castle. According to the plan, they acted alone. ZD's task was to write off the accounts and obtain funds to facilitate the purchase of alchemy materials. The scale of these materials was not small, and some of them were quite expensive. The Justice Pirates had treasures in their hands, but artifacts and the like could not be sold at all. After this period of escape, they had consumed a lot of materials. In the evening, according to the agreement, everyone had a secret meeting to inform each other of their progress. The young man, Sandow, and Lan Zhao were responsible for scouting the area. Each of them took out a map that they had secretly marked. The few of them gathered the map and could vaguely see the outline of Flame Spray City. They were also responsible for another important task, which was to check the whereabouts of the 100 Needles clan leader. So far, the patriarch of the 100 Needles clan hadn't set foot on the fire-breathing island yet, so he hadn't found the agreed special mark. Sang Su was also in charge of scouting, but he was scouting an important place in Spitfire City, the active volcano behind the city. Although the Justice Pirates lacked excellent scouts, Sang Su was a necromancer. He used ghosts and spirits to investigate, and then used necromancy to hide their aura, often making it impossible for people to guard against him. I've found the correct entrance. The security there is tight. Not only are there gold-ranked powerhouses patrolling the area, there are also many hidden sentries. And this is only the outer perimeter. Based on the way the soldiers are arranged, there must be saint-level guards in the inner perimeter. Now, I can only cast spells on the spot and remotely control the ghosts to sneak in and investigate. But in this way I need to keep casting spells, and my magic power will fluctuate. So, I'll ask for more pearl foam to cover me. Sang Su's request was immediately met. ZD finally mentioned her purchases. I have a plan to buy most of the materials. There are only some rare alchemy materials left, and the red and blue crystal clusters are the most needed. But I've also found a seller, and I'll try to finalize the deal tomorrow morning. The one who made the most progress was ZD. She deserved to be the current president of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce. Her insight into the market and her negotiation skills were very strong. The young man's tone was solemn. The pearl foam on us is being consumed faster and faster. This means that more and more people are divining and predicting us, and they are getting stronger and stronger. The situation has become urgent. We have to race against time. Looking out of the window, the setting sun was approaching the sea, which seemed to indicate that everyone's last chance of survival was getting bleak. Looking at the setting sun at the intersection of the sea and the sky, Wei Xing stood at the bow of his double-sword ship. The beautiful scenery in front of him did not affect him. His mood was very bad. About half an hour ago, he received a report. The report described that Vice Admiral Bitterwater led his fleet to pursue and capture a large number of members of the Justice Pirate. And the specific time of this battle was not today, but yesterday. After Wei Xing saw this report, he was furious on the spot. He accepted Yen Tan's order to take over the position of Marine Fleet Admiral. But except for Yen Tan's faction, the other three factions did not listen to his orders. Previously, Admiral Bitong maliciously played with him. Now, Vice Admiral Bitterwater directly ignored the existence of the Marine headquarters and only reported to Admiral Igue. The information Wei Xing received was from the investigation of spies. Each and every one of them. They don't put me in their eyes at all, damn it. Wei Xing clenched his fist and smashed it on the side of the ship. The current situation was not friendly to him. Not only did the top members of the Justice Pirates disappear, but Firebeard also made a big move. In the Eye of the Sea, Firebeard showed strong combat power, defeated the barbarians and the Marines, and easily rescued Feng Yao and others. After that, he scattered the entire fleet, and each pirate fleet sailed in a different direction. It was like flowers blooming everywhere. Firebeard got first-hand information from Feng Yao. Feng Yao was cursed by the goddess of love. According to the latest intelligence analysis, his sweetheart is likely to be Blue Charm Goddess. So, he may be able to point in the right direction. Firebeard should be robbing the goddess body. I must stop him. Among the three legendary pirate groups, Firebeard's pirate group was the largest and the most powerful. If he successfully robbed Blue Charm Goddess, he would be ranked first, and it is even likely that he would sit directly on the throne and become the new generation of Pirate King. The specifics may not be easy to estimate, because in history, there has never been a case of a pirate robbing God's body. Speaking of which, Bitong took the Blue Charm throne and is now the first in the Pirate City's Holy Tablet ranking. Ridiculous, it is a shame to the Imperial Navy. Marine Headquarters, Big Military Port. Marine Admiral Muito stood on the balcony, watching the setting sun fall into the water. His trance expression was slightly relieved, and his eyes gathered again and became spirited. The Blue Charm throne is difficult to suppress, and the divinity contained in it is not worthy of me at all. Bitong sighed. He had been suppressing the throne for several days, and it was very hard. Bitong's legendary concept was space, and the Blue Charm throne's concept of divinity was focused on camouflage and deception. Bitong now began to understand Claw Crow. This guy's strength is actually stronger than when he fought with me. He suppressed the Blue Charm throne in the subspace for a long time and consumed a lot of energy, so he was pushed down by me in the battle. When he thought of the confrontation in the Eye of the Sea, Bitong's eyes lit up, and his body seemed to feel an unbearable heat. Firebeard's strength has been deeply engraved in his heart. Fortunately, I can break the space and my ability to retreat is far beyond his. This monster is close to a god. Bitong stayed on the balcony, rested for a while, and then turned back to the house. He couldn't stay out for too long. Without his suppression, the Blue Charm throne would fly away. The throne had divinity of deception and camouflage. Once it left his sight, it would be difficult for Bitong to detect its existence. But the moment Bitong turned around, the sun suddenly became fierce, shining on the balcony. Enemy attack. The next moment, the Marine Headquarters sounded an ear-piercing alarm. Bitong immediately turned around, and saw that the setting sun seemed to become the rising sun, and the sea was burning with flames. A tall and burly figure stepped on the flames, and walked slowly towards the military port. Bitong's eyes suddenly shrank and a sense of horror hit his heart. Firebeard? That night, Firebeard killed his way to the Sacred Empire Navy headquarters. Chapter 386. This guy actually dares to attack the Navy headquarters? How dare he do this? Admiral Bitong's heart was filled with rage after the initial shock. If you count the top combat power, the Empire Navy had a total of 4 legend. There were 3 legendary pirate groups, but the pirate groups were independent of each other. The Empire Navy did not encircle the pirates with great fanfare because the sea area was too vast. The top combat power between the two sides rarely clashed head-on. A battle like the Pillar of Heaven's Sea was actually very rare. Because of the Blue Charm Divine Throne, there was a legendary confrontation. The Empire Navy did not deal with the pirates on a large scale, and the pirates did not cause too much trouble for the Empire. After all, the Sacred Empire was the strongest country in the main world. Although the merchant ships were attacked by the pirates treated the ships from all the continents equally. There had never been a pirate group that attacked the Empire's port, but now Firebeard was doing just that. Not only did he attack the Empire's port, but he also attacked the Sacred Empire's Navy headquarters. Madman! Do you know what will happen to you if you do this? Bitong gritted his teeth and roared at Firebeard. Firebeard laughed, and flames raged in his laughter as he pounced on the military port. Humph! Bitong's face was cold, and he did not give any more orders. The quality of the Navy at the headquarters was very high, and they immediately activated their defensive means. A huge light barrier was the first to take shape, covering all the important parts of the military port. The originally scorching flames were immediately repelled by the light shield, and the temperature of the air stopped rising crazily. We are safe. This is a legendary defensive magic array. The Navy headquarters defense is tight. Even if Firebeard attacked here, he would fail. Wait a minute, the temperature continued to rise? The Navy was surprised again. The light shield was like melting iron, and soon it became incomparably red. The number of magic crystals consumed by the array rose sharply, and many parts of the array began to show signs of destruction. The headquarters was naturally equipped with many alchemists and alchemists. At this moment, they were fully mobilized to repair the array. Firebeard's understanding of the flame domain is already so deep. Bai Tong's heart became heavier, and he decisively ordered, "Send the Golem Legion." The Navy headquarters was equipped with 2 complete Golem Legions. Rumble, the ground cracked open, and a team of tall Golem giants, fully armed, stepped into the sea. The water only reached their knees. After walking out of the light barrier, they gradually entered the deep sea. Intense mana fluctuations rose from the golem's body, driving the golem. Combined with its buoyancy, the seawater was only waist-high. The golem giants charged towards Firebeard. Compared to them, Firebeard's tall and sturdy body seemed very small. However, the height of the flames rose again, and the endless tongues of flame easily drowned the golem giants. After burning for a while, Flamebeard walked out of the flames again, and the golem giants all disappeared without a trace. These are all saint-level magical golems. That's impossible. Even if the opponent is of the legendary level, he should at least be able to resist for some time. Firebeard. Is he a monster? When the Marines saw this, their morale was shaken. Isn't there another golem army? Bai Tong asked. The subordinate immediately reported, "Sir, when Count Wei Xing attacked, he took this team with him." Bai Tong was stunned. He was so angry that he smashed his fist. "You can't do anything right." The quality of the 2 golem armies was similar, but they both had their own strength. One was heavy and large golem army, which consumed a lot of mana. The other was light and small, with high endurance and easy to carry and move. The light barrier was on the verge of collapse. But soon, the 3 wizard towers surged with mana fluctuations. The towers emitted a dazzling light, shining on the light barrier. The light barrier received strong support and stabilized again. Bai Tong's expression became even worse. He questioned, "There are still 6 wizard towers, why haven't they been activated?" The subordinate immediately said, "Count Wei Xing moved out in full force and took away most of the wizards. This guy." Bai Tong gritted his teeth. "Has the clergy been gathered? Why don't I see the war god bishop?" "Sir, it's—" the subordinate was about to say, but was interrupted by Bai Tong. "I know, it's Wei Xing again, right? Sir, please investigate. Count Wei Xing not only took away the war god church's bishop, but also a large number of elite clergy." Bai Tong clenched his fist. At this moment, if Wei Xing was in his hands, he would definitely crush his bones. More than half of the Navy headquarters' combat power was taken away by Wei Xing. It was not as strong as Bai Tong remembered. The military port was the Empire's war god's parish, so there was a war god's temple here. It was overseen by a powerful clergy at the bishop level, and there was also a war god church. Believers were precious resources. There was an agreement between the Empire's gods, and each parish was independent of each other. Unless it was a super-large city, it was hard to see a scene of each god's temple gathered together. After all, the number of high-level clergy was limited. It needed to be more reasonable to maximize the benefits of each church. Since the military port was the war god's parish, although clergy from other churches were also stationed, there were fewer of them. And the clergy from the war god church that Bai Tong could rely on the most were not here. Whoosh whoosh! At this moment, the terrifying flames finally burned through the giant defensive light barrier. "What happened?" Bai Tong hurriedly asked. "Several cores were burned." his subordinates quickly reported. The core of the defensive array is heavily protected. How could it be destroyed? Baitong was furious. It's not the core. The part of the array that was burned is related to the mage tower. An alchemist with a dusty face came in front of Baitong. This part of the array was burned. Our mage tower's support power conflicted with the light barrier. Under the internal and external attacks, the light barrier could not withstand it. Sir Baitong, only you can make a move first and resist Firebeard. We need enough time to repair the array. Baitong blinked and secretly broke out in cold sweat. Since the start of the war, how long had it been? Why did he have to make a move now? The bad news came one by one. The Navy headquarters that was heavily guarded could only rely on Baitong? Damn it! I have continuously suppressed the blue charm throne and consumed a lot of energy. Now I have to deal with Firebeard? Baitong was prepared to use the defense of the Navy headquarters to delay for a while and let his condition recover. But Firebeard's offensive was too fierce. The Navy headquarters could not withstand it in the blink of an eye. The light barrier melted piece by piece. Flames fell from the top of their heads, burning the Navy. Baitong glanced around and his eyes flashed with a touch of ruthlessness. He ordered coldly, then abandon the defensive array. Concentrate all the power, mobilize all the mage towers, and open the six-pointed magic cannon. Admiral? The surrounding navy was shocked. Baitong snorted, even if the repair is successful, how long can the defense alone last? We must counterattack. In the case of a pirate attacking the island, where is the glory of the Imperial Navy? Yes, sir. The Navy roared. The magic fluctuations of the mage tower rose rapidly. The brilliance of the 6 mage towers linked together and converged in mid-air at the top of the tower to form a huge, nearly flat 6-pointed magic array. If the mage army was complete, the power of the magic cannon would be stronger and faster. Baitong was very regretful. The military port built 9 mage towers, but because too many mages were transferred, 6 tower masters left directly, leaving only 3 with the weakest individual strength. Now 6 mage towers could be opened because of the mage's emergency transfer and the temporary allocation of authority. After about 2 minutes, the center of the array burst out an incandescent ray without warning. The ray almost instantly hit Firebeard. Boom! A big explosion formed in the next moment. In the deafening roar, a huge white ball of light swelled in the red sea of fire. The ball of light expanded to a radius of 6 meters and then burst. The terrible white shock wave spread around. For a moment, the sea of fire dissipated and returned to ordinary sea water. The next moment, the sea water was completely eliminated by the power of the shock wave. It hit him. What about Firebeard? He took this hit head-on. Even if he doesn't die, he will lose a layer of skin. This is a legendary artillery attack. Firebeard coughed twice and his figure appeared in front of the Imperial Navy again. He was indeed injured. The pirate captain's costume was missing a part, revealing a complete left shoulder. The injury on his shoulder quickly healed under the burning flames. The Imperial Navy was speechless. It's the legendary artifact. Suddenly, someone shouted. Yes, it's the raging tailblade. With this broken blade, Firebeard will be able to wield the Phoenix Fire and quickly heal his injuries. How can we fight this? The morale of the Imperial Navy fell sharply. A legendary 6-light magic energy cannon? Ha, it's not bad. Firebeard, who took the hit head-on, laughed. Now it's my turn. Since he appeared, he showed a serious expression for the first time. He clapped his hands and put them together in front of his chest. Battle technique. Red flame tsunami. The flames ignited on the sea again. Burning. Tongues of fire spewed out, the raging flames grew bigger and bigger. Not only that, but under Firebeard's feet, the surface of the sea rose up, forming waves as if mounds were rising. The waves grew bigger and bigger, attacking the military port. The closer it was to the port, the bigger the red waves became. Rumble, in the horrified eyes of the Imperial Navy, the red waves that attacked the port were 9 meters high. It was overwhelming. The waves smashed down, a large number of warships were directly smashed, some followed the waves and hit the land. The first wave receded, and the remaining scarlet-red seawater began to burn, turning the area that was covered by the waves into a sea of fire. The Imperial Navy wailed and were defeated. But the second wave came again, smashing down. Boom, boom, boom. Under the attack of the waves, the military port was quickly destroyed. Countless ships and buildings were either smashed or burned. Smoke rose, flames ran rampant, the Imperial Navy suffered heavy casualties. It was a scene of doomsday. The morale of the Imperial Navy was close to collapse. Firebeard had not landed yet, more than half of them had died. The gap between the two sides was too big. According to this situation, Firebeard could easily slaughter the entire Imperial Navy headquarters. Now, there was only one reason why the Imperial Navy had not been defeated. Baitong. Admiral Baitong has not moved yet. This was their only hope. Firebeard. Baitong was sweating. Chapter 387. Looking at Firebeard approaching, Baitong's limbs stiffened and his hands and feet became numb. The surrounding Navy's eyes were focused on him with endless expectations. Baitong cursed in his heart, "Where's Igwe? Where's Fong Gong? Most importantly, where's Yen Tan?" Firebeard attacked the Navy headquarters. "Where are you guys?" It was understandable that Igwe and Fong Gong didn't guard the Navy headquarters all year round. After all, Baitong often did this. But Yen Tan? You're a Navy Marshal and you're not guarding the headquarters. What are you trying to do? You're neglecting your duty. After this battle, I'll definitely report you to the military court. If I knew this would happen, why would I go back to the Navy headquarters? I might as well hide in a corner and secretly suppress the Blue Charm throne. Baitong was very regretful. He subconsciously thought that the Navy headquarters was the safest place. This was actually a thought habit. Once there was an extremely daring criminal who didn't play by the rules. This thought habit would become a trap to frame Baitong. Baitong thought about retreating. His fighting skills broke through space, so he could often advance and retreat freely. But he couldn't retreat now. At least not for the time being. Previously, he played with Wei Sheng and went to the Eye of the Pillar of Heaven and snatched the Blue Charm throne. This action had crossed the line, but with his strength and status, he could suppress it. But now, if he fled like this, he wouldn't be able to suppress the series of consequences. Please. This was the Navy headquarters. The Empire's current situation was to invade the Wilderness Continent. Now, a large number of troops hadn't been transported to the Wilderness Continent, and the maritime logistics line hadn't been officially opened. In the end, the Navy headquarters was destroyed, and he was defeated by a single person? What would the people of the Qingming Empire think of this? What would the other races think? This wasn't just a huge joke, but it would affect the entire situation. If the Empire's navy was weak to this extent, how could they guarantee the logistics line of the army? How could they guarantee the victory of the unprecedented war between the humans and the beasts? The people of the Empire would have self-doubt, and the other races would be restless, thinking that the Empire's strength was only on the surface, but it was actually very weak inside. At least, the navy was a huge flaw of the Empire. Therefore, Baitong was very clear that he couldn't retreat. If he directly retreated and fled without a fight, he would be finished. The Grand Dukes of the Empire and the living gods would be the first to not let him off. Not only can I not retreat, but I also have to repel Firebeard. I have to repel him. When Baitong thought of this, he gritted his teeth and decisively ordered, "Send an emergency request to the Marshal, the other generals, and the Wei Sheng fleet. I will fight to the death against Firebeard. Everything is for the glory of the Empire, the flag of the Empire. I will not fall. Yes. I wish you victory, General. Martial arts prosperity. The Marine subordinates' morale was boosted. Bai Tong took a deep breath and knocked with his hand. The space in front of him split open, and he stepped in. In the next second, he appeared in front of Firebeard. Firebeard, you are too arrogant. Bai Tong gritted his teeth and rushed forward. Firebeard laughed. Loser, where are you going this time? The two sides clashed. Bai Tong's silhouette flashed and reappeared. His main tactic was guerrilla warfare. He was stalling for time and waiting for reinforcements. His intention was very obvious. Firebeard did not seem to be in a hurry. Under the pressure of a legend, he could no longer maintain the red flame tsunami fighting technique. Military Harbor had just breathed a sigh of relief when suddenly numerous shadows appeared from all over the place. Kill these fur seals! Let us rob the Marine headquarters, ahahaha. The pirates were extremely arrogant as they swarmed out. The Marines were caught off guard and were routed one by one. What's going on? Bai Tong was surprised. Firebeard laughed. I am the leader of the pirate group. You are waiting for reinforcements, but I also have subordinates. When will your reinforcements arrive? My subordinates have long been ready. As soon as I make a move, they will sail from all directions to the military harbor. Today, I will snatch the military harbor. Bai Tong's face was ashen. He knew that he had fallen into Firebeard's trap. He could only pin his hopes on his subordinates. Firebeard, you underestimate the elites of the Empire. Firebeard's pirates, only you are worth watching. The battle in the military harbor was in full swing. A large number of pirates suddenly could not move. The solid ground under their feet turned into a swamp. They were deep in the swamp and kept sinking. They could not use their do-chi or magic power. Trapped in my magic trap, you can only wait for death. The sacred domain mage who set up the magic trap sneered. Is that so? A short man appeared. He held a war hammer and slammed it on the ground. The magic trap collapsed. The sacred domain mage's expression changed. He stared at the dwarf's war hammer. You are the magic breaker hammer? Poochie. While the mage was distracted, a dagger stabbed into the mage's back. The tip of the dagger came out of his heart. The mage struggled frantically, but found that all his magic power was absorbed by the dagger. He turned his head with difficulty and saw a dark-skinned woman with oil paint on her face. The mage fell to the ground and died unwillingly. The pirates were saved, but Hammer was dissatisfied and shouted, "Hey, he is mine!" The dark-skinned woman sneered, her voice hoarse, "You were too slow." After saying that, she turned into a cloud of black smoke and disappeared. Pirate scum, the Vice Admiral is here. Don't even think about rushing over. In front of him, there was a large number of corpses of the pirates. Let me. A young man with a red scarf on his head stepped out. Fourth Master. The pirates saw the young man and were overjoyed. The Vice Admiral's expression became serious, his gaze serious. You are the red scarf? According to the latest news, you have advanced to the sacred domain not long ago? That's right. What kind of strong person is bullying the weak? I am also a sacred domain now. Come. The red scarf shouted. Little brat, you have just advanced to the sacred domain and you want to die? Let me grant you your wish. The Vice Admiral roared and rushed towards the red scarf. After a few rounds of fighting, the Vice Admiral's eyes were wide open. He spat out blood and was sent flying by the red scarf's fist. How is this possible? My blood is not for control. What kind of fighting technique is this? The red scarf used his thumb to wipe his nose. He raised his head proudly. I created it myself. I haven't named it yet. Boom, a mage tower completely collapsed, attracting the attention of many people. Is this fake? The mage tower actually collapsed. This tower was personally guarded by the sacred domain tower master. A tall figure slowly stood up from the ruins of the Mage Tower. Gulp. The Navy soldiers all swallowed their saliva and looked at the huge figure in horror. This man's expression was firm like steel. His arms were very thick and strong. They were so strong that they were disproportionate to his torso. What was even more eye-catching was that he had 2 pairs of arms condensed from Do-Chi. They were exactly the same as his original arms. They were lifelike, and did not look like they were condensed from Do-Chi. Many arms. Damn it, it is the second head of Firebeard! It is rumored that he has the fighting power of a legend. No wonder the Mage Tower was destroyed by him alone. The morale of the Navy soldiers fell. On the other hand, the pirates were shouting. The more they killed, the more excited they became. How can this be? The more Bai Tong looked, the more he felt that something was wrong. The situation was different from what he had imagined. Although the pirates were mixed in good and bad, this time Firebeard had brought all his elites to attack the military port. Especially the few heads. Every one of them was brave and good at fighting. Their fighting power was astonishing. Ha ha ha, you think that I do not know that your navy and spies have come to deal with me and secretly attacked my brothers? The Firebeard pirates are not to be trifled with. This time I will let you taste what is called pain. Firebeard laughed and touched the hilt of the roaring tail blade. Caw! Do-Chi gushed out of his body, and immediately rose into the sky and turned into a huge phoenix. The phoenix flew across the battlefield, and wherever it went, countless flames were sprinkled. Bathed in the fire of the phoenix, the injured pirates quickly healed and even regenerated their broken limbs. Seeing this scene, Bai Tong and the Marine Vice-Admirals were pale. Firebeard's hand was simply the Archbishop's healing magic. All of a sudden, it offset the advantage of the Marines' clergy and even overpowered them. I can't let him be so unscrupulous anymore. Bai Tong glared and pointed his palm at the roaring tail blade on Firebeard's waist. Fighting technique. As soon as he was about to use it, he saw Firebeard's eyes cast on him. I have been playing with you for so long, haven't you felt it yet? Firebeard laughed. What? Bai Tong felt a huge horror hovering in his heart. Firebeard raised his head and narrowed his eyes slightly. The time has come, this is my fighting technique. Call. The next moment, Bai Tong's heart burned with flames. When did I get hit? Bai Tong was horrified and quickly retreated. His figure suddenly disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already hundreds of meters away. At the same time, he used his fighting spirit to suppress the flames in his heart. The flames were quickly suppressed, but not extinguished. Anger involuntarily spread from the bottom of his heart. Anger! Anger! He wanted to rush up and tear Firebeard apart. Not good, this fighting technique seems to be closely related to my anger. Not only can it trigger my anger, but the angrier I am, the more difficult it is to suppress the flames in my heart, and the more likely it is to reignite. Bai Tong was also a general, and soon saw some details. Don't run. Firebeard flew to the sky and killed Bai Tong. Bai Tong fought with him again, and after a few rounds he fled. Damn, how can I fight this? Firebeard laughed. It seems that you saw it. Yes, the closer you are to me, the more power the fighting technique will accumulate. Once it accumulates enough, it can reignite. Bai Tong had no choice but to use his fighting technique to attack from a distance and maintain a distance from Firebeard. The next moment, a blue light rushed to the sky and disappeared in an instant. Blue charm divine throne. Bai Tong was dumbfounded. After the shock, there was a huge anger. Ting. His heart burned with raging flames again. Firebeard, die for me! Bai Tong howled, his face distorted, and took the initiative to kill. That's right. Firebeard laughed. The two of them fought again, and the sky and earth were turned upside down, causing stormy waves. On the other side, in the military port, the pirates rushed over like a tide, and the navy took a limited number of ships and retreated in a sorry state. The pirates, led by multi-armed, trampled the Empire's flag under their feet and screamed in a sea of fire and ruins. The Empire's Navy headquarters fell. Chapter 388. Under the heavy night sky, the military port was ablaze and blood flowed, but the voodoo rainforest was quiet. Occasionally, there would be the screams of a successful predator, making the rainforest seem even more serene. Lights were still shining in the small wooden house. No matter what kind of beast it was, they would avoid the small wooden house. Even though the small wooden house did not emit any aura, the survival instincts of beasts were sometimes sharper than humans. The small wooden house was spacious, far exceeding the limits of the building's outer appearance. If an outsider pushed open the door and entered, they would be shocked to find that there were 4 legends in the small wooden house. Igwe was a Marine Admiral, Hua Xing, and Asa were the top figures of the pirate group. Each of them had a deep influence on the main world sea. But now they were all focused on another woman, Mo Lao, a legend diviner and a core figure of the voodoo sect. The divination had failed once again. The grass doll in the basin withered once again and burned to ashes. Even the soil in the basin began to distort, forming a messy and complicated pattern that was disgusting to look at. Cough, cough, cough. Mo Lao kept coughing, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Her blood was very strange. It was black and emitted a foul stench, but there was also a hint of fishy sweetness. Igwe looked at her best friend worriedly. Mo Lao sensed her gaze and smiled at her. "I'm fine, ugh." Saying this, she spat out another mouthful of blood. Igwe frowned. "Are you sure? You've already spat out more than 10 liters of blood. You've spat out almost all of it, right? Take a rest, there's no need to rush. We can take it slow." Hearing this, the other 2 legendary powerhouses were not willing to do so. "Miss Igwe, please understand our difficulties." Hua Xing smiled. Dark magician Asa held his staff and said coldly, "We have to race against time. If Flame Beard succeeds, we won't have an easy time." Igwe was a Marine Admiral. Even if Flame Beard stole the Blue Charm God's body and ascended to the pirate throne, he was only a new god. The Empire naturally had gods to deal with him. At that time, even if Igwe was held accountable, she could still be an admiral. But it was different for Hua Xing and Asa. Their path to promotion lay in the pirate throne. To them, the pirate throne was even more important. It was the key that would affect their fate. If they failed, they would have to submit to the god of pirates unless they withdrew from the sea. The boat was small, so it was easy to turn around. However, they had a large family and business, so there were too many fetters and implications. It was very difficult for them to leave. Igwe snorted coldly. "You are nervous and afraid of Firebeard, that is your business. Mo Lao is my friend. I care more about my friend's life. At worst, we'll just fight. We're all legends." Hua Xing quickly raised his hand. "Miss Igwe, please calm down. We don't want to start a war with you, we just want to find trouble with Firebeard." Of course, the legendary pirates weren't easy to talk to. But now, they didn't dare to rashly start a war. Because their goal had not been achieved. They were here to divine Blue Charm God's whereabouts. If they started a fight and spoiled the plan, Firebeard would get what he wanted. It would be a huge loss for them. Asa frowned. He was very unhappy with Igwe. If it was any other time, he would have already made a move. But now, he was very restrained. Igwe and Mo Lao had a close relationship. This was obvious to anyone with a discerning eye. If he attacked Igwe, how would Mo Lao react? It was very likely that Mo Lao wouldn't do any more divination for him. Asa thought for a moment and sneered. "Igwe, you don't seem to understand reality. This is a deal. We provide the voodoo sect's holy item in exchange for Master Mo Lao's immediate divination. This is consensual. As an outsider, you can't take out any holy item. Allowing you to continue staying here is already the limit of our tolerance. Please pay more attention to your actions. You. Igwe was indignant. All right, stop quarreling. Emo Lao raised his hand and complained weakly. Can you all stop? You're making my head hurt. It's not easy to divine a god. Can you all please shut up? As a divination master, although Emo Lao was also a legend, his combat power was limited. So, it was also her idea for Igwe to stay by her side. If the divination results were out and these two legend pirates killed her in order to keep the news a secret, who would she cry to? I'm just worried about you. Igwe rolled his eyes at Emo Lao and said intimately. Emo Lao comforted her best friend again. I understand, it's okay. I just feel a little nauseous. I have to vomit something to feel better. This is the price of the divination ritual. It's more beneficial for me to vomit because this blood will bear the backlash. This feeling is actually like being pregnant. You know, there will be morning sickness. When you smell anything, you will feel nauseous, want to vomit, lose your appetite, and have a headache. Igwe hurriedly shook his head. I don't know how it feels to be pregnant. Have you had it before? Emo Lao stretched out her finger and pinched Igwe's arm, but she couldn't pinch it. On the surface, Igwe was only wearing a princess dress. How many clothes are you wearing this time? Emo Lao teased. None of your business. I'm wearing more to keep warm. Igwe snorted coldly. Emo Lao was about to speak when she coughed again. She wiped the corner of her mouth and said indifferently, Look, I vomited again. It's okay. It's okay? Igwe's eyes widened. This time, Hua Xing and Asa frowned a little, because there were a few suspicious fragments in the blood that was vomited. What is this? Igwe pointed and shouted. Oh, it's my lungs. Emo Lao laughed. It's okay, it's just a small fragment of my lungs. Let's continue. The sun slowly rose from the sea level, and the morning glow dyed the sea red. It was beautiful. In the military port that was already in ruins, pirate ships crowded the dock. There were also a large number of ships sailing on the sea near the port, like a group of sharks that had gathered after smelling blood. Firebeard sat on a stone stool at the dock, enjoying the worshipful and even fanatical gazes of his subordinate. He quietly listened to the reports of his subordinate. After fighting hard in the first half of the night and cleaning up the battlefield in the second half of the night, the pirates also had emergency maintenance experts. They tried their best to operate the warships that could be operated and counted the spoils of war that could be collected. Even though Wei Xing had taken away most of the elites and important supplies, the pirates still had a lot of spoils of war. After all, this was the Qingming Empire's navy headquarters. The treasury was very rich. Boss, are you looking for me? Feng Yao walked in front of Firebeard. His face was covered in dust. He also participated in the battle last night, but he rushed over in the second half of the battle. Firebeard's tactic of dispersing the pirate group deceived everyone. Not only the two legendary pirate groups, but the Empire's navy also never expected that Firebeard would be so daring as to attack the Empire's navy headquarters. Third brother, come, take this. Firebeard saw Feng Yao, smiled, and threw him a bottle of potion. Feng Yao quickly took it and looked at it. His pupils dilated slightly, and he cried out in surprise, This is legendary healing potion. Drink it, and you can recover from your injuries and return to the sacred level. Multi-Arm came over, accompanied by a young man with a red bandana. The young man glanced at Feng Yao curiously, and then immediately stared at Firebeard with fanatical eyes. Boss! He shouted. I just received news that your name is first on the pirate ship's sacred tablet. Feng Yao gratefully put away the potion, thinking that it was no wonder. They had done so well this time. The entire Imperial Navy headquarters was destroyed. Although Bitong was not killed in the end, he suffered heavy injuries from Firebeard. Multi-Arm said in a deep voice, The news of this battle hasn't really spread yet. Now, rumors are flying around the pirate ship, and everyone is guessing what we did. Boss, what should we do next? The Qingming Empire should be very angry. It's very likely that the gods will personally take action. Multi-Arm was the second in command and had a steady temperament. He was the chief manager of Firebeard's pirate group. He was loyal to Firebeard. The reason why Firebeard's pirate group was the largest in the Origin world was not only because of Firebeard's powerful personality, but also because of his hard work and management. Do you still need to say that? The newly promoted sacred level Red Bandana put his hands behind his head and said casually, Blue Charm God has already flown away. He must have gone to find Blue Charm God's main body. Hurry up and attack Blue Charm God. This god is too weak. It's perfect. If other pirates manage to get their hands on it, the pirate throne will probably be snatched away. Multi-Arm was silent. Feng Yao's expression abruptly changed as worry appeared on his face. Firebeard laughed. There's no need. I've already promised Fourth Brother that I won't attack Blue Charm God. Ah, is that so? Red Bandana was very surprised. Multi-Arm still did not say anything. But if that's the case... Red Bandana hesitated. Feng Yao choked. Boss, Firebeard stood up and walked in front of Feng Yao. He patted his shoulder and took Red Bandana over. Kid, do you see that, son? Yes, I see it. Red Bandana was confused. Firebeard said heroically, What is the Blue Charm Divine Throne? What is the Pirate Throne? Can it be compared to our brotherhood? My goal is the sun. I want to become an existence like the sun and wield the authority of fire. The rest is not the path I want to take. For a moment everyone was moved. The sun jumped out of the sea, and the sunlight was dazzling, illuminating the vast sky and sea. It was as if flames were burning. The sunlight shone on everyone's faces. Red Bandana had a yearning expression. Feng Yao stared in the direction of Fire Spray City. Multi-Arm was expressionless. Red Bandana's brows relaxed under the sea breeze. Then, he laughed out loud. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.